Hello and welcome to the grand finale of the HCL Technologies Cricket Australia Techjam for 2021, which has been brought to you by HCL Technologies in collaboration with Cricket Australia and Microsoft. My name is Brett Morgus from HCL Technologies and I'm speaking to you from Sydney, Australia. And I'm really excited to be your host for the proceedings today, both in terms of being someone who's worked in the ICT industry for a while, but also as a massive Australian cricket fan. Now, to start with, in the spirit of reconciliation, HCL Technologies acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea and community. And we also pay our respects to elders past and present and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The game of cricket has come a long way and technology has played a key role in that journey, from bringing innovative advancements to tailoring key digital interventions. Technology has reimagined cricket like never before. With the aim in mind, we sought to begin a journey to gather the best minds across the globe and provide them an immersive experience to develop innovative solutions and prototypes for transforming the game of cricket, both on and off the field, leveraging the power of data and technology. So when we started 12 weeks ago, we had over 8,300 innovators engaged from over 32 countries, over 440 universities, and over 400 organisations. The result is that we have some groundbreaking solutions across the tracks of player performance, fan engagement, and community engagement, and they've been developed under the mentorship and guidance of a diverse ecosystem of thought leaders and experts from over 20 partners. We're not going to be watching just some presentations about the solutions today, but also witnessing the future of cricket and technology in the making. But before we do that, we're going to give you a little bit of a sneak preview of what's to come. We're going to have a video that will give you an insight as to what the HCL-CA Techjam 2021 is all about, and inspire you to ideate, innovate and implement like never before. So here's a video featuring one of the voices of modern cricket, Mel Jones.
What a grab! Oh! Doesn't get any better than that!
A game grounded in history and tradition is moving into a new era with innovation at its core. Cricket Australia and its digital partner, HCL Technologies, are proud to launch Techjam, cricket's first global collaboration and crowdsourcing program that uses data and technology to bring the sport's next game-changing innovations to life. By putting innovation at the forefront, from grassroots to the world stage, we're making the collaboration between fans, players and teams more dynamic than ever. Today we're inviting the world's brightest minds to take their chance to shape the game. By analysing data and fielding new solutions and ideas, let's etch a new innings and a new era for the sport.
So the very finale of Techjam 2021, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the leaders of some of the organisations that collaborated to make the vision of Techjam a reality. Today, Nick Hockley, CEO of Cricket, Stephen Worrell, Managing Director, Australia and New Zealand for Microsoft, and Swapan Jory, Corporate Vice President for Asia Pacific, Middle East, and leader of that region for HCL Technologies. I'd now like to ask them to say a few words of welcome, starting with Swapan Jory from HCL Technologies. Swapan, over to you.
Thanks, Brett. And COVID times, so the best or the most prevalent greeting, namaste. And a very warm welcome to all the participants, the judges, the panelists, and everybody else who's viewing this event at this time. A very, very warm welcome to you. We do hope that the pandemic, while it is taken its toll on our health in some ways, over our emotional and mental well-being at times, and of course the physical stress and strain for some people. But overall, we do hope that you are emerging from this pandemic stronger, better, and possibly healthier too, right? With all the time that some of us have had in working from home, and doing things which we were not able to do before. So I think the video says it all. But let me just do a 30-second introduction to HCL and what we do with the Cricket Australia. So, I mean, HCL is in the business of what we call as reimagining customers' businesses. And at the core of that reimagination is empowering them with technology for the next decade. And of course, we do that today. I think about 2 years ago, or let me call it a couple of years ago, with the love of cricket that spans across a large section of the company, I think we were almost smitten by Cricket Australia's plans and their approach to inspiring more and more Australians, and in fact, maybe even beyond the shores of Australia, people to come to cricket, right? That really got us going, and that was probably at the heart of our making a very strong bid for signing up a partnership, which you just heard. So we're the official digital technology partner for Cricket Australia. And with that, is where our journey for transforming cricket through technology really started. Cutting across all the tracks, right? I mean, you can apply technology to player performance, you can apply technology to fan engagement, and what cricket most wants to do, to look at, the community engagement, a lot of which you saw on the video today too. So that's where our journey with Cricket Australia has been, and I think it's just going stronger. Ambitious at the same time that we think will leverage the of the availability of global talent to help create solutions which we normally may not really think about, right? And that's what the Techjam is all about. And we really love the fact that there has been so much participation. We're really looking forward to looking at the presentations, going through, hearing what the solutions that they come up with, and of course, leave it to the judges to figure out as to what who are the ones which are the best from there. Of course, I think I'm sure you would have heard or read there are awards for the finalists and for people who win. But I think the whole journey of doing this event would have been enriching, rewarding for everyone who participated. Thank you once again for participating. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to the presentations that will follow. Over to you, Brett.
Thanks, Swapan. I'd now like to call on Nick Hockley from Cricket Australia to say a few words.
Thanks, Brett. And I'm also coming to you from Sydney, from the beautiful Gadigal lands of the Eora Nation. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. It's so exciting to be here and a great privilege to be part of the HCL Techjam. Mike Osborne, our GM of technology, said to me, it's going to be bigger this year, and we know that there's a COVID situation, but I have to say I'm just totally blown away by the level of engagement. Over 8,000 participants, absolutely incredible. So I might say anything. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's been involved in Techjam, and I'd also like to say an enormous thank you to our incredible partners, to HCL and also to Microsoft for all your incredible support. I think both HCL and also Microsoft have really just been instrumental in keeping the game going through this time. And what we've seen is just some incredible innovations. I think, Brett, I saw on your shelf there the virtual pink seat from the Sydney Test last year. That's just one example of a great innovation. And I think we're seeing now, whether it's virtual coaching through our apps, or just making sure that the cricket gets to everybody around the world through cricket. You can absolutely keeping the game going. And it's hugely exciting to see some of the innovations, and I know they really will make some massive difference to the sport, and at all of those three levels that Swapan talked about, at the elite high performance level. And I think it's very exciting that we're going to hear from our men's white ball captain, Aaron Finch, later on. I do want to just take the opportunity to congratulate Aaron and Amy on the arrival of baby Esther. Just fantastic news. And then also, great experience for our fans all around the world. And as you said, Swapan, ultimately, we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to pick up a bat and ball, so that engagement at a community level. But really, just to say, I think this is an absolutely fantastic initiative. Innovate technology, data is absolutely a fundamental part of our strategy, and we feel privileged and extremely grateful to have such wonderful partners. And I'd just like to say thank you and congratulations as well to the winners in advance. We can't wait to see the presentations. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Nick. And finally, I'd like to call on Steve Worrell from Microsoft to say a few words on behalf of his organisation. Stephen, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Brett, and those thank you to Nick and to Swapan for those wonderful words of welcome. It's a great privilege to be here on behalf of Microsoft. We love cricket, and we love the partnership that we have with HCL and with Cricket Australia, and it really is a privilege to be joining together in such a wonderful piece of work together with Techjam and all the wonderful innovation and ideas that will come out of it. I too am joining this call from Sydney, and I'm in a place called Camaraid. And I'd like to acknowledge the Camaraidal, who are the traditional owners of the land that I have the privilege to live and work on, by paying my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I also, to Swapan's message earlier, want to acknowledge the tremendous impact that the pandemic has had over the last 20 months in so many aspects of life, in so many countries all over the world. And to everyone who has contributed through this Techjam, I want to say a massive thank you, but also acknowledge the impact of this time, and that I hope everyone continues to stay safe and strong through what continues to be a very, very challenging period. And we know that there are many challenges still ahead. But as we look back over the last 20 months of the pandemic, and indeed now as we cast our thoughts forward, the intersection between technology and the world around us has never been more clear. And we see it in every aspect of our life, how technology is impacting our lives, and in many cases helping us to continue to do the things that we need to do to provide health services, for governments to provide the services they need to provide, for emergency responders to continue to operate, supermarkets to continue to provide food and so forth. But of course, those impacts are as keenly felt in the area of sport. And this Techjam is such a wonderful example of the power of technology, and more importantly, the power of a collective effort. And Swapan mentioned some of the numbers, or Brett might have mentioned the numbers earlier, but it's just quite incredible to think we've had more than 8,000 people participate, 400 universities, 32 countries, more than 20 partners, and of course, more than 100 solutions leading to the finalists that are going to be considered today. And so to everyone who's here, and in fact, everyone who has contributed and participated, I just want to say congratulations, because participation, I think, is the key. It helps all of us to become stronger, to become better. We know that's the case through the pandemic. And I think through this effort and our collective love of cricket, we can look forward to supporting Nick and his team in their visionary effort to help to take the game forward. And it is a great privilege to play a small role in that on behalf of Microsoft, working side by side with HCL and, of course, the more than 8,000 people who've contributed. So really excited about the session today. Looking forward to hearing more about the finalists and, of course, the award winners that we get towards at the end of the session. So thanks again, and Brett, I'll pass back to you.
Thanks, Stephen, and thank you to Nick and Swappin for your words of welcome, but also the support from all three organisations to help turn this vision for Techjam into a reality. Thank you very much. Well, today we'll find out which of the solutions that have made the grand finale will come out on top. And to do that and help us decide the best of the best, we've assembled a panel of experts to be our judges for today. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce them to you. And I'll do that in alphabetical order. So firstly, I'd like to introduce George Bailey, National Selector at Cricket Australia, Kailan Kumar, Chief Technology Officer and Head of Ecosystems for HCL Technologies, Sebastian Lancester-Meyer, Global DT Partnerships and Industry Managing Director, GSMO at Jared McKee, Head of Technology Strategy and Operations Australia Division at AEST, Michael Osborne, General Manager of Technology at Cricket Australia, Sujit Rana, General Manager Customer Experience and Technology at Coles Group, and Vanessa Sorensen, Managing Director, New Zealand at Microsoft. Thank you all for joining us today and being part of the panel. I don't envy your job today. I think it's going to be a very tough one. But I just wanted to ask a couple of you some questions just to get the milling. And Paul Osborne from Cricket Australia, I'll start with you. Any advice that you'd provide to the teams that are presenting today?
I'd just encourage you to knock our socks off. I've read the briefs on what you've put together, and it looks really exciting. So be brave and be bold, and we're thrilled, and thank you for putting the solutions together.
Thanks, Michael. And Vanessa, is there anything that you're looking for from the teams as they present their solutions to the panel today?
Well, certainly the word expert in cricket with me is not general, but I can't wait to see the innovation and the passion. Also, reading the solutions, unbelievable, solving of problems and leveraging tech, and the camaraderie you can feel of the team coming together. I just can't wait to see and make these incredible teams.
Thanks, Vanessa, and best of luck to all the judges on your deliberations today. I know we'll be talking to all of you over the course of the presentation of the solutions. So best of luck to you all, and I'm sure we'll get to hear and see a lot of innovative solutions that will, contribute to cricket both on and off the field. So best of luck to you all. So I wanted to give you all a little bit of background on what was read to our participants so they could go and develop the solutions, as well as a little bit around the format for today's grand finale. Now, we made available an incredible amount of data that can bring out the fanatic in all of our for all Australian, for all international matches Australia has been a part of for the last 2 decades. These data sets have had a level of detail that many wouldn't have come across before. We also provided ball-by-ball details of every BBL and WBL that's been played over the last few years, as well as details on the venues that those matches were played at. This provided the participants with many possibilities to use these data sets. For example, they were given data sets that could have allowed them to build strategies that the Australian team might be able to use in the upcoming Ashes series, or strategies that may help the Sydney Sixers retain their BBL crown for the upcoming summer. There were also information being given about the grounds, their locations, and the types of pitches that were played on. And that allowed to provide some context to the participants around the conditions that the teams were playing in, as well as some of the challenges that they had to face. We also provided some information around ticket sales and TV broadcast data. So that could be used for some ideas around fan engagement, both in person and also for the competition. After the video has been shown, not from the to have a short Q&A about the solutions that they've just presented. So while we're going through that process, I'd ask all the participants that are online ahead through the Q&A with the judges. So without further ado, let me go to our first, and they're presenting a solution for AI-driven video analytics for player performance tracking. Now, their solution is a machine learning-based video analysis for cricket using mobile cameras to measure player performance through biomechanical modeling. Sorry, let me get that out of the way. Through biomechanical modeling and body tracking. So let's go to the video presentation for Team 1.
Today, we are going to talk about AI-driven video analytics for performance tracking. And what we are essentially doing is using image processing and video analysis of videos captured using your mobile cameras to essentially figure out player performance through biomechanical modeling as well as body tracking. I know there are a lot of keywords, so I'm going to try to summarize what really the objectives are. The objectives are, how do we essentially motivate more amateur players as well as analyze games of professional players when they're actually doing net practice or when they're playing games that are not pro games. Because in pro games, there's lots and lots of technology all around. But in amateur games or in net practice of pro games, there isn't that much technology. Or even in backyard kits, right? The goal is, how do we take technology and how do we give these guys tools so they can analyze every single game, every single ball play, every single time. To that aim, we are starting with what we call as a generic camera. It is the camera that everybody has. It is the phone camera. Once you have a video captured from any regular phone camera, there are three components to the solution. One is what we call as smart coaching. As you run our video through the algorithm, it automatically tracks and detects people, bats and balls, and body postures. Once we have that, you can analyze the video and see how that person is performing, be it in a batting shot or a bowling or even fielding. As you can analyze every single video, every single ball, every single batting action, you can essentially move on to what we call as progress monitoring, which is all around how do you derive trends and intelligence from that, which is take a player's performance over that game or over games over a week and draw correlations from it and see if the player is getting better or not. Third component is lifelong AI, which essentially means the solution, our algorithm constantly learns as more and more data is processed through it. As I mentioned, it is player and action tracking at its core. It auto segments the videos based on body pose, audio analysis, bat and ball tracking. So the three components that I'm going to demo in a second are really, one is segmentation, which is how do you segment long videos into movements which are interesting. So when you bowl an over, there are very few movements in the over that are interesting from a batting standpoint and a bowling standpoint. From a batsman standpoint, it's really the movements when the bat is actually contacting the ball and when the batsman actually hits the shot. Segmenting lets you as a coach or lets you as a player, when you're analyzing your performance, skip through the entire gameplay very quickly. Posture analysis is all around how do you do biomechanical analysis of the body pose and joint angles. How can you track the position of a head relative to the core and center of gravity of the body? So you can essentially derive outcomes things like what's your bat speed? Are you doing the right follow through? Is your balance and posture good? Is your timing good? Are you middling the ball or not? Or where is the bat coming in contact with the ball? So doing segmentation and posture analysis actually enables us to do both of these core things. Here is the demo video. This is a raw footage section. You can see there's a lot of waiting around for the ball. If you are watching it again, it's not that useful. You're gonna waste a lot of time. About 25 shots in 10 minutes. So what the algorithm does first is segmentation. By segmentation, what we mean is it detects the point of contact of the bat and the ball and only keeps a few seconds around those. So that the rest of the video, is not in many interesting things are happening on that, so you can practically discard it. You can go back and look at it, but the algorithm right now discards it. For the videos it's keeping, for the segments it's keeping, as you can see on the top left, it's detecting a balance score, it's detecting when the ball is contacting the bat and figuring out what your balance is at that point, what your posture is. On the right, you can see there's a head position and where the head is related to the center of gravity of the body. In this video, you can actually see it's automatically segmenting the bat and the ball, which enables you to do stroke quality and timing analysis. Here's a frame from that video. You can actually see the track bat, you can see the track ball, you can see what the score is, the balance score is of the person, and what the bat speed is. It enables you to do lots of things. Longer term, you can actually imagine callouts here, which are visual callouts, which says your head's to the right, your head's a little bit forward, you're leaning a little bit backwards, or your bat is not reaching the right speed at the point of the contact, you're not middling the ball. So the goal is essentially, as we think about a roadmap, to help players track their performance and correlate how the shot was with how they played it, how the balance of their body was, and how they made contact with the ball. And you can see visualization and summarization of these trends over short term and longer term. Thank you.
Thanks a lot to Team One there, and I can't help thinking that if that was around when I was playing cricket, it might have improved my results, but I only hope. We now come to the Q&A section for Team One, and we hope to have a team representative joining us. So if you're there, if you could turn your camera on and your audio on, that would be great. And to help us with the Q&A, we have two of our judges, George Bailey and Sujit Rana, who will have a question for you as part of your solution. So, George, I'll hand it over to you to start.
Thank you. Love that submission. There's no doubt. I think one of the great things about cameras and being able to video your kids and amateur players and then overlay them or compare them with your heroes is one of the great initiatives of modern technology. How can you use that technology to compare a player over a longer period of time, or to compare a player how they are, say, on a Saturday to how they might be the following Saturday?
It's a great question. Once you essentially have the video and processed, derive some metrics from it, you have the data, right? Which is what their bat speed was on that day, what their posture was on that day. And with computers, you can actually do that analysis a lot faster. You can derive conclusions. Hey, this player plays better in the morning versus in the evening. Their posture is a lot better. Their balance is a lot better. So once you have the data processed from the video for each day, you can essentially derive those conclusions from that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thanks, George. And Sujit, your question for the team.
Yeah, sure. That was a great demo. Really interesting to see that tech in use. I guess I'd come at it from a slightly different angle, which is I think the value of this is the ability to correct the posture, the bat speed, the head movement in situ. Given the compute power required and even the data that's required, is this something that could actually happen in real time? So someone could be having their phone out, watching it and correcting as they were batting?
That's correct. Yes, so we are actually using mobile models that can actually be run on a mobile phone, as opposed to models that need high compute power or GPUs to run. So this is all, our goal is really to be able to make this into an app that anybody can run on their mobile phone, both in real time as well as for offline videos.
That's great. Thank you.
Is there an
Thanks,
optimal
Team One.
distance that this is used?
Sorry, go ahead, George.
Is there an optimal distance that this is used from? Is it the length of a cricket pitch?
No, not really. We have analyzed videos from it, from the length of a cricket pitch to the side of a cricket pitch to, essentially, as long as you can make out the ball visually in a frame yourself, the technology can analyze it as well.
Yeah, very good.
So it's really made for free-form videos that anybody can take, from an audience or wherever else, and the technology will do the rest.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Team One, and thanks, George, and thanks, Sujit, for your questions. Let's move to the second team, and their solution is called Cricket Shots. We manage league teams consisting of real-life players, and where players stay to their real-world performance, and they can be traded. Let's go to their video presentation now.
Hi, this is Harsh Savargaonkar. I am part of Team Cricket Shots. We are very excited to be here at the grand finale of Techjam. So Cricket Shots is a very unique cricket gaming experience where users have to create and manage their own cricket Premier League teams and manage them perpetually. So as a user, you have to collect different cricket player cards. These cards have their stats that are pegged to the real world performance of that player. You have to collect and manage different player cards, and using those cards, you have to create your own squads. When you create your own squads, you can use those to participate in different events and different leagues. A league is a Cricket Shots hosted Premier League where you have to battle against different players at in-game locations. For example, different stadiums. This is the anatomy of a card. So for example, every card has stats which are pegged to the real world performance, which we sync after every live cricket match. Then we have a level, the class, that is bronze, silver or gold, and we have the name and photo. You can even upskill and upgrade your cards, teach them different skills, and you can build amazing decks for you to play. After you've collected cards, you can even buy them and sell them on the open marketplace, and you can even trade them with your friends or anyone on the game. Now that you have your squad, you can take it to participate into different events. Face Off is the first gameplay mode that we are releasing in Cricket Shots. Face Off is a cricket skill-based card game where you go with your squad of 11, the opponent comes in with their squad of 11, and you have to play your cards strategically, and you have to also choose which skill each card plays, and you have to wear against the opponent. So let me explain how it exactly works. So as you can see on the screen, you have your squad in front of you. You can choose any card to play, and you can choose which skill will that card play. So let's say I play a batsman with a batting skill and the opponent is bowling. So they play a bowler with a bowling skill. What happens is that the bowling skills compatibility with that player whose card is being played, the batting skills compatibility with the batsman card, the stats of the bowler versus the stats of the batsman, and their recent performances in real world, and a few other stats are calculated in our algorithm. And we also add an element of luck to make sure that it's a very different outcome every time. And that is how you get a score for every turn. After 12 turns, someone wins, and the winner, they get trophies. Trophies is how you climb ranks in leagues, and chest is how you get more cards. So after winning, you can also get chests. As you can see, when I open a chest, I get new cards. It can be new player cards, it can be new skill cards, and it can also be in-game resources. Now we have this player valuation section in Cricket Shots, where we value and rank every player after every live match. So what basically happens is that you can see the live standing of each player, where each player stands. And this table determines the dynamics of the game. How rare is getting a card? How probable is getting a card? Or what is the base value of a card if you want to sell or buy it from the marketplace? All of that is determined by this table. Cricket Shots is a premium game, but people can buy things from the shop like chests and resources to progress faster in the game. As I said, we also have a player card market, which is one of our business models. Also, being game developers, we wanted to make sure that our users don't have a very bad ad experience. That's why we have come up with a very cool advertisement system and integrated ad system, where advertisers can just set a budget, location, target audience, etc., and add their brand logo, and we will strategically place it on different cricketer cards, different stadium locations, or different chests inside the game, making it very cool for a user and also a very different advertisement mechanism for the advertisers. We are in somewhere in between fantasy cricket and collectibles, cricket gaming and collectibles, and that's why we have a very huge market. And this market is very big in India. And we sort of have noticed a lot of white space in the cricket fantasy and cricket gaming world, and that's why we have been building cricket shots to solve those problems. So, for example, current fantasy games don't offer you perpetual ownership. You can't own a cricketer forever. It's reset after every match. Also, live matches need to be going on for you to play fantasy. So we all wanted to solve all of those problems using cricket shots. If we compare cricket shots to other cricket games, then we are the only game that syncs with real world cricket and is backed by data and analytics. Primarily, our target audience is B2C, different users, but we are also very excited about the B2B aspect, where we are in talks with multiple federations, clubs, and leagues, where we'll be creating a white labeled cricket shots for their league. So with their IP rights, they can conduct a very cool card game season throughout the white label contract period. The team that we have is very experienced in their own domains. We have tech expertise, design expertise, and data and analytics expertise. And all of us are super excited to present our product to you guys. This is our latest metrics. The app is live for a few months now. These are the metrics that we are tracking, the active users and daily user engagement. And we hope to keep on tracking this. And this is our feedback mechanism to know what to change and what not to change. We have a very cool roadmap planned out. We are working on more gameplay modes. We are working on a cricket metaverse early stages. We are also working on more events and leagues to match it with more real life cricket events. And we hope to keep on building on cricket shots. Thank you so much. We really hope that you guys liked cricket shots. And if you did, you can check it out on the Play Store and the App Store.
Well, again, it's a great example of how technology is starting to engage fans outside of the actual game. And we've got a representative from Team 2, Cricket Shots, to join us. And we have Vanessa Sorensen and Jared McGee, part of our judging panel. And Vanessa, I'll hand over to you to ask the first question.
Yeah, look, that was great. It took me way back to school when I was definitely collecting those cards, so loved it. But my question is, how would your solution drive engagement in people who are not regular cricket fans, as opposed to driving further engagement for those fans that are already deeply engaged?
Okay, so primarily we are connected or we are in sync with real world cricket events. So, for example, fantasy cricket is a very good example of where even the fans and the followers and not the fans are participating. And us being in sync with real world cricket, we are actually working on multiple real life events. Let's say there's an India-Bangladesh match, then we'll have specific events for those particular matches. So it sort of wants you to connect because it's connecting you to real world cricket. At the same time, it gives you a sense of collection. So you as a user are building your portfolio or your own collection. And these cards sort of are driven by market rates and their stats. And it's sort of a different game than just purely cricket.
Nice.
And Jared, over to you for your question.
Yeah, perfect. Just firstly, job well done, team. Absolutely amazing. A lot of thought and a lot of research has gone into this one. I'm keen to understand how the team's thought about in terms of from an engagement perspective. Obviously, age groups. Cricket is a game that's loved from young kids all the way through. How have you thought about the user experience for if this was going to be used by school-age children versus the experience that potentially adults would be having, given we've got things in there about marketing and potentially able to interact with other users on the platform?
Okay.
But so currently we are targeting a younger audience, and that is how we are designing and building our user experience. But as we go forward, it can also be an open place for even older audience. And actually, that is a very good example that can be seen in multiple cricket games. There's a very big audience of different age groups who want to be a part.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Vanessa and Jared, for your questions. We now move on to our third team, and they'll be presenting a solution called Cricket. And it's a solution that covers NFT collectibles, an engagement platform, and fantasy cricket. Let's find out a little bit more about it now.
So our problem statement for Cricket: how do we better engage the community and embrace the digital age? How do we bring these technologies like blockchain, AI, augmented reality, data analytics into the forefront and make it easy for our fans to use? How do we tap into the enthusiasm and passion of our audience and gamify that experience? And finally, how do we engage our fans so that they keep coming back for more? So Cricket actually combines blockchain and non-fungible tokens, complex data analytics, AI, and traditional digital and social media to gamify the collectible cricket cards and engage your fans in more rewarding and satisfying ways. So you buy a booster or a starter from any news agency, you scan a unique QR code and recruit your favorite cricket players into your stadium. You do daily tasks to earn Cricket credits. You redeem the crickets, and you can buy digital boosters for your chance to win rare, one-of-a-kind cards, which has real-world value as a collectible and tradable NFT. So then you build your dream team, challenge your friends, family, and you can even go back in time and try to win the 2019 World Cup when Australia lost to England in semi-finals. So using our game and data models, we can actually bring back Sir Don Bradman into the current era and make him play a T20, which he has never done. And finally, we achieve all this by using a vast trove of data from Cricket Australia to train a digital model of each player versus every other player. This is then fed into a non-fungible token to evolve the player, making it more valuable over time. So there's also very interesting revenue opportunities as well. So what it does is it brings tangible cards into the digital world. So now you have a link between a digital and a physical world. It also enhances revenue streams because now we're offering users a way to play with their cards. So that card now becomes more valuable. We can also enhance revenue streams by offering custom prints of digital-only cards. So if I manage to score a rare to Donald Bradman in my stadium, I can actually request Cricket Australia to print out a specific version of that card that's unique to me. So that's a lot of revenue that you can generate from there as well. And finally, we also drive digital demand through collaboration with traditional and social media and with special offers and promotions. So really, all we need is a small QR code on the card, and then we can start this. So next, Russell will talk about the tech part of the solution. All right, Russell.
The data that we got is super awesome. I mean, it's a lot. Every data set got like 100+ points, data points, which was really wonderful. Right, so because of the time constraint, we took some of them, about data sets. We derived about 14 derived data sets like the players, bowlers, batsmen, the statistics. Then we derived metrics like strike rates, run rate, partnership, and stuff like that. In total, we used about 28 data parameters to run the model. So this is how the model works in a very high-level way. What we're predicting is, or we're trying to predict, is the next how the next ball could be if you're a batting player. If you're a bowling player, then how the batsman would play that ball, right? And it all depends on the past data. And at the same time, the algorithm will try to learn in itself if these two players haven't played ever. It's possible that these two players never played each other. So that's the whole idea, and that's how you score. That's how you bowl, or you get one wicket out. Okay, our roadmap is clear. We want to make it more dynamic. We want to have the gamer play a real match while the real match is being played in live. So you want to get to that close as real time, and also want to add more parameters like bowling, batting parameters, etc. So that it could be used as a training session as well.
Right. So maybe I'll just quickly jump into the demo. So we'll just quickly demo a live scenario. So Crikey Cricket's concept is to be able to get users to daily engage with the platform, and we do that by giving daily tasks, such as liking a Facebook post, etc. This will earn credits that the users can then use to redeem booster packs, so they can buy a booster pack for about 5,000 Crikey credits. So they can take those cards that they've gotten, and then they can go and battle it out with other people. So they can build their bowling and batting team, and then they can go ahead and battle it out with one of the randomly generated system teams, like in this case, the 2019 Australia team. In this case, I've actually lost, so they can retry again with different cards. They can also connect their MetaMask wallet to redeem the NFTs. So in this case, we are actually redeeming our particular NFT and generating a new one, which we can take to sell on the secondary market. The whole system is actually using the Harmony One blockchain. So we have a link to the NFT, and we have a link to the blockchain transaction. Harmony One blockchain is super fast. So that's, in a nutshell, what Crikey Cricket is at the moment. And we hope you enjoyed the presentation. Russ, you want to hop on and say hi?
Yeah, thank you, guys. So it's been a great experience with all that data point. I mean, it's amazing. The data set that you guys have, it's just awesome, So thank you. Thanks for this contest, and then we're happy to be part of it.
Well, a really interesting solution, and representative from the Crikey Cricket team, and I'll get that name right this time around. So thank you for joining us. And also we've got Sebastian Lancester-Meyer and Michael Osborne from the judging panel, who's going to be asking a couple of questions. So Sebastian, I'll hand it over to you for the first question.
Can't hear you.
Sebastian, you might be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Can, so go ahead.
Thank you. So congratulations for your solution. That is great. Also, it's great that you're one of the finalists, so you should be very, very proud of it. NFTs and casual games are spiking in the industry. And my question here is, for sure it's spiking because it's a great opportunity for right owners, whether those are clubs, leagues, federations. This is a great way to monetize certain assets. So the question is, how do you compare your solution to Sorare or Socios.com or Razor Labs, some other competitors? And I see that you have shown one of those pictures at the very beginning. So what's your competitive advantage compared to those other solutions?
Right, Victor. So, right. So we're not just being a marketplace here. We're actually combining a gamification along with it, which I believe none of the NFT platforms are doing at the moment. We are actually letting people play their dream matches or the matches that they loved the most. They wanted their team to win. We are actually giving them an opportunity to go back and say, change this order, change this bowler, change this bowling order, and let's see, if we're gonna win or not, right? So that's in a way a really engaging for a fan. I'm a great fan. I'm a great fan of cricket, so that'll be very interesting if my team, like India, lost a match and I want to win it back, right? So that's where the real engagement is. And at the same time, yes, if I win that match, I'll be really happy to own those tokens, the cards. It's mine. It's my position. I won that. Right? So there's a real personal value to it. That's what we're trying to achieve here.
I can jump in as well. Can you guys hear me? I'm not.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yeah, that's my teammate. Yeah.
Hi, Victor here. So I wanted to also add that we're actually combining the physical asset as well to the digital asset. So we're tying both physical and digital asset, and we're tying it to an existing product from Cricket Australia. So they've already got this out there on the market, and all we're trying to do is digitize that, bring it into a more gamified solution, so that people can actually make use of it as well.
Thanks. And Michael, a question from you.
Yeah, and congratulations, team. It's a really clever bring together of the game, sort of the gamification with the NFTs in the real world. So I think a really clever solution. I guess my question is more from a fan perspective. Can I bring back players at different stages of their careers?
Well, okay. So if the data supports it, like for example, if we have data for that player throughout his career, when we can surely ask get the gamer to select that particular time period, and make him play T20, for example. Like the example that we put in. So Don Bradman never played T20 era, so we could actually potentially bring him to face a real fast bowler and a different format of game. We could try that, right? So that will be very interesting for those people who want to relive this moment and how to play the new format of games. So yes, we can, as long as we have the data.
Maybe I can help. Yes. Sorry, Russell. Maybe I can also add. What we can do is we can actually start the user when they redeem the player at the very start of their career, and then as people engage on the platform, we can evolve that player. So let's say we have a player in 2010. So he's just started his game career and he's just batting or bowling. Each year, as you pay and engage the game, we can evolve that player as well, so that their stats get updated, and as they battle and practice, they improve as well. So we can add that dimension to the platform.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to the team at Crikey Cricket, and thanks Sebastian and Michael for your questions as well. So we're going to change pace a little bit and have the first of two panel sessions that we're holding today. And the first one will be around building high-performance teams, sport and business. Now, there's a great number of comparisons between the worlds of sport and business, and one of the key ingredients to having a success in either one of those fields is that of being able to build and have a high-performance team. And by being able to have a team with the right mix of individuals, you can achieve any result, be it creating a groundbreaking product or winning a Cricket World Cup. And teams are so important because more often than not, a good team is better than the of its parts. And in the highly competitive world of business, and even in the competitive world of sports, high-performance teams are more important than ever. Now, in joining to talk about this topic, I have George Bailey, National Selector for the Australian Men's Cricket Team, and Jared McKee, Head of Technology Strategy and Operations Australia Division at ANZ Bank. So, Jared and George, thanks a lot for joining me to have a discussion. And George, let me start with you. From your perspective, what's the recipe for building a high-performance team?
I think, mate, it starts with a pretty clear vision and strategy for the process that you want to take on the journey. You can, as you mentioned, you can throw a talented bunch of individuals together at any stage, but to get them to work collectively is probably the key to the actual recipe. So certainly for us, in terms of a build towards a World Cup, that's normally like a 2-year process, and part of that is about building experience. Part of it is to work out or ascertain the skill level that you have, and to grow that where it's applicable. And I think most importantly within a team, it allows you the time to build trust, and particularly in a sporting team, it's that trust that you'll do your job really well, so then I can go out and do mine. If you can put that together, then you're generally on the right track.
And Jared, I think there's some similar points that George made that could be applied to building a high-performance team in business.
Yeah, I was just having a bit of a smile. It's George and I haven't caught up before today, but it's almost very similar. But I'll probably tackle it from the other side, but same themes. For me, in the corporate world, we really spend a lot of time understanding the skills that we need as we build our teams. So what I'm trying to achieve, what are the skills that need to be. We're probably the emphasis on diversity. So a lot of research in terms of diverse teams, and that's a really secret ingredient in terms of high-performing teams. So diverse thought, diversity comes in very different forms there. The second bit that we focus on at ANZ is very much around the culture. So if you've got the skills, you've got the diversity, a lot of it comes down to the culture of the team. And a big emphasis for us in industry at the moment is one around psychological safety within teams. So you've got the team, you've got the skills, but actually, you're going to come up against challenges and you're going to have to call things out and call potentially other people out around their performance. So we spend a lot building that safe environment to have those hard conversations to take a team from good to great. And then the last piece is in terms of how do you set up a team for success. It's really, do they understand the purpose? Are they clear on the goals so that they can make the decisions along the way themselves, as opposed to always having to check in with someone else on a decision? So does the team really understand why they exist and what success looks like?
No, yeah, I mean, you both talked about the vision on both the business and a sporting front. That's really important in building a team. And just to ask you a question, in your world and I guess in general in the corporate space, I mean, what do you see the role technology plays in building a high performance team?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. So I don't see it as a main technology or a tool that we use in terms of building a high performance team. I think definitely for us, as we've moved to working virtually, a new set of tools have kind of emerged in terms of how we get teams up and running and build that bond. So a lot of technology around the edges is what we're really noticing over the last 18 months. So, Kahoot is a thing that everyone uses now for their trivia nights because that's the way that we get together. There's little bots and widgets that we use in terms of our collaboration tools to kind of set you up to meet with someone that you wouldn't have necessarily met with to have a virtual coffee. And we do a lot in terms of engagement surveys to understand what's the vibe of the team, what's getting in the way of the team, and use that as a mechanism to get feedback to help evolve the team performance.
Sure, and I guess George, you're important in particular in the area of cricket. How do you use technology helping in terms of and building that the teams that you're involved in?
In many respects, cricket was ready for the last 2 years because of the fact that we quite often are so spread. So we were well set up in terms of using our technology to be viewing our teams that are playing overseas. Our players are quite often playing in different tournaments. So that ability to compare and contrast across international cricket, domestic cricket, franchise tournaments around the world, and how players are performing in each of those tournaments, and trying to get some sort of balance on comparison there is really important. I think it's really important for us too to try as best you can and forecast, and there's obviously a lot of data that can be used, particularly around conditions and things you're up against, and then how you incorporate into the strategy that you might have for your own team. And certainly, I think my role from the selection point of view is calls, and then again back to that comparison piece. Everyone seems to have an opinion on who should be in the cricket team, but being able to back that up with some good hard evidence always seems to fit the bill.
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't envy you being in the spotlight quite often about everyone having teams that you're bringing together. But Jared, a question to you: once you have the right team, how do you go about retaining that high performance team?
Yeah, look, I think a great question, especially in the current climate. You know, there's just a war on talent. So, you know, a little plug here. There's clearly some very talented technologists in the final. So, you know, we're always hiring at ANZ Bank. So please feel free to reach out afterwards. But look, I think retention of high performing teams, it's more than money these days. I think you really do need to spend a lot of time to understand what drives an individual and work through how you can deliver on that. So for some people, we see it's the flexible way that we can support them when they're working. For other people, it's they really believe in the purpose of what we're trying to achieve and they're brought into that. And for other parts of our population, they're really looking for someone to take care of their career and work somewhere where they're going to grow, develop, and really accelerate their career. So you've just got to take the time to understand everyone's individual motivators and see how you can meet them.
Yes, you know, in recent times over the last 12 to 18 months, Jared, it's been very important to try and understand those individual drivers for each of your team.
Most definitely.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And George, I mean, I guess retention is I guess a unique when it comes to a splitting team and in the role that you have. But I guess what do you need to do to ensure that the teams that are involved in are continue to perform at a high standard and retaining those key members that you want to keep in your team?
I'd back up and agree with everything that Jared said. I think, you know, back to that point around being able to have a really clear vision, so that incentivization to perform remains. I think in sport you're trying to create a bit of a culture where inevitably people don't want to miss out. They know that they're going to be part of, or you know, they have the opportunity to be part of something special. And I think that always talks, or it certainly is more impactful than a paycheck. I think eventually you end up retaining by giving a little bit of the ownership over, almost handing over the keys and allowing your best people to grow and challenge and drive their own standards and expectations. I think once they feel like they are very much part of the journey, then you get really great buy-in.
And I guess one final question to both of you, and George, I'll let the first stab at this. How do you make a good team into a great one?
That's the constant challenge, isn't it? Probably quite broadly, I think the challenge there is to make something that's bigger than the team itself, and something that's sustainable and is like any team. There will be constant change. Certainly in our world, that there will be constant turnover of players, and so what you're trying to create is don't like to use the word legacy, but you're trying to create a culture where and a team environment that lasts longer than your own contribution to it.
Sure, absolutely. And Jared, your thoughts on getting your teams from being a good team to a great one?
Yeah, I think very similar. I think you've got to work out how do you ignite the passion. So in the corporate world, you know, we all get up, we go to work. You know, what's the purpose of that work? So there's got to be a greater good about why we do what we do. So you've got to really ignite the passion in your people, and then really work on the culture. So before I spoke about that psychological safety, the importance of speak up. You constantly want to try and get better, and then probably taking a sporting term is, you know, you've just got to keep practicing. You just want to keep practicing to get better. So it's that feedback loop in terms of what did we do well, and that want to actually next time we try this, we're going to try and do it slightly. way in the pursuit of continuous improvement. And you keep that, and then you'll get an absolutely fantastic result.
Well, I think what this just highlighted is that there is a amount of similarities of what's required at the business world and the sporting world to build some high-performing and successful teams. So, Jared and George, thank you very much for this discussion and sharing your insights on this particular topic. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Brett.
All righty. Now, we'll go back to team presentations, and now we've got Team 4, and their solution is titled Cricket Carnival, Let's Keep It Rolling. And Cricket Carnival organises sporting events on the streets of Hood and reconnects the local community in the world of sports. So let's have a look at their video presentation.
Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to one and all present here. The challenge that my team seeks to address through this presentation is community engagement. Researches conducted by the Australian Health Survey reveal a growing negligence of physical activities amongst the youth, leading to a higher case of obesity amongst them. Meanwhile, according to surveys conducted by the Australian Sports Commission, children and young adults have a larger participation rate in non-organized physical activities as against formal organized ones. For instance, as being members of the school and college teams, local clubs, and the like. However, outdoor cricket features at the 9th and 10th position, respectively, in both the circumstances. So what are the reasons for this alarming decrease in physical activities in general and participation in cricket in particular? Cricket. The term cricket brings to mind a large field, 11 players, a bit too many equipments, and long hours. It is therefore that even today, the term recreational cricket remains an oxymoron for many sections of the society. While other sports have found their ground as the people's game, cricket is mired in the shroud of a gentleman's sport. Apart from the complexity and rigidity of the game, our research reveals another important reason to be the limited number of existing facilities that are being used at maximum capacity. Our solution, therefore, is to take to the streets. Cricket Carnival breaks down the complex game into its basic elements and uses local initiative to rejuvenate the community's engagement with the game. By doing this, it engages the cricket aficionados as well as those oblivious to the joys of the game. And how do we do this? Simply by breaking down the complex whole of the game into its simplistic elements, such as hitting the ball with the bat to score a 6, throwing the ball with precision to hit the makeshift stump, or simply catching a ball. To put it simply, Cricket Carnival is the kindergarten of the school of cricket. A cricket carnival conducted in the neighborhood streets would be divided into the following 3 zones: game zone, cafeteria, and the backyard. Now, to the most important elements, the games. Here are some of the games that we intend to conduct to build an understanding of and a familiarity with the game of cricket. Bullseye, for instance, is an event where the participants will have to hit a stump from a distance of 20 meters. Each participant gets 5 attempts, the one with the maximum number of hits wins. The wickets will have a sensors attached, which will record the data and then send it to the database, which will then be available on the app. Researchers reported in the Biomed Central of the BMC Public Health Journal shows that street games organized across the globe have in terms of engagement during and after the event. But here is more specifically as to why our model works. Any individual having a general knowledge of the game and the will to organize an event in their locality can register as a volunteer. The volunteers function as the operations team on the day of the event, and apart from the fun experience, there are some very tangible benefits of becoming a volunteer. Potential participants can find the date and location of upcoming cricket carnival in their neighborhood through the app and register for the events through their player profile on the app, and win a lot of prizes by becoming a participant. For those interested in the long run, individual game scores gets archived in the player profile of the individual players, and which will then accumulate into several leaderboards. The platform collects the data recorded on the day of the event to create several leaderboards based on different parameters. The utilities of the data that we collect are following. Automated infrastructure with smart IoT devices ensures accurate and unbiased collection of data. Such accurate and relevant data can then help Cricket Australia in identifying potential talents from every nook and corner of the country. For instance, a game of ace and pace and hit the stumps collects specific data pertaining to bowling accuracy, while GRS ascertains the participants' umpiring accuracy. The database thus formed is not limited to professional players, but is rather of every individual playing in the community. This gendered separate leaderboards allows us to map the spread of women participation, and the data also reflects on the territorial demographics in terms of participation and engagement with game of cricket. The resulting heat map can then be used to stage strategically located promotional events for larger events such as the Big Bash and other ICC events. We intend to Cricket Carnival strengthens social interactions within the community, helps increase in youth physical activities, and encourages leadership and organizational skills in its volunteers. We intend to partner primarily with Cricket Australia and forge further tie-ups with other potential sponsors. Meanwhile, the cafeteria also allows food vendors to set up stalls at a minimal rent. With the power of IoT devices, data sensors, and a unique take on recreational cricket, Cricket Carnival increases participation rate in cricket by help simplifying the game, helps identify potential talent from every street of the country, and engages the community through the initiative of volunteers. It's indeed an innovative and dynamic way of rejuvenating the interest of the Australian communities with the game of cricket. Thank you.
Thank you. And engaging the community is very much important, and I think on the top of everyone's minds as we've navigated not just the last 12 months, but also recent times as well. So we have a team representative from Team 4, but also we have both Sajid Rana and Vanessa Sorensen, two of the judging panel, to help us with the Q&A. So I'll hand it to the first question.
Thanks, Brett. I'm going to be really cheeky here, and hopefully I can sneak in 2 questions. Great job, Team 4. I think it's a really clever approach to engaging the community. I love that you've got that diversity of games and a really good way of incentivizing the volunteers. I think that's fantastic. I remember when I used to play cricket on the street with the neighbours and things like that, part of the fun of it was the spontaneity of it. What kind of lead time is required for this to actually be able to organise one of these events?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question? The internet got disconnected in the middle.
Sure. So what kind of lead time is required to organise one of these events? I do remember part of the fun of these types of things is how spontaneous they are.
Right. Spontaneity is, of course, one of the important elements to make anything fun. So the point is that in organizational teams, since the volunteers are the operations team, they will make a small pitch on the app as to how they will organize the Cricket Carnival. We are giving them a personalized touch to make it more personalized for the particular community or their own locality. So the games will be specific and the rules of the games will be as we have mentioned over here. But the volunteers can make it more personalized in that sense, and they can make that pitch of the resources they have, the resources they require. And the participants will get to know beforehand as to when are the prospective events coming up, so that they can register for, let's say, if it's in 2 blocks away. So they can go ahead online and see the upcoming carnival and register for the 2 blocks away.
Excellent, thank you. I'm just going to sneak in my second question. Sorry, Vanessa. Do you see there being a challenge, perhaps, with ensuring that there's the right number of kids or participants that are at the right same age or skill level? How do you ensure that you don't get a whole bunch of young kids and a whole bunch of older kids trying to play the same game?
So actually the thing is that we are targeting not a particular age group, but a larger section. Like, the best thing about Cricket Carnival is that anyone and everyone can play. So, and since they are very individualistic games in that sense that you are the only one participating in Bullseye, it's an individual event. So it doesn't really matter who all are participating, but the leaderboards, and as I said, the leaderboards collect the data. So the data that is being collected will be pertaining to age group. So even if, let's say, a 5-year-old participates and then a 10-year-old comes next. So, but their leaderboards will be separate. The 5-year-old to 6-year-old will be a separate leaderboard, and a 10-year-old to 14-year-old will be a separate leaderboard.
Excellent, thank you.
And Vanessa, over to you. And if you have 2 questions, you can ask them both.
Oh, excellent. Well, I love this solution. Congratulations. It's amazing. I just love how you're breaking down the socio-economic barriers to inclusion in cricket. However, one of the topics in this Q&A is how can we use technology to rebound from the impacts of COVID-19 as we enter the paradigm of the new normal? And I love your idea, but it relies heavily on people being able to physically interact. How will you use technology to enable accessibility for people wherever they are and whether they can or can't actually meet in person?
Right, that's actually one of the primary concerns that we have kept in mind when organizing it. Given that it is a neighborhood event, it creates a far convenient travel access in that sense that only people, and also the events that will be organized will be logistically, like it will be organized keeping in mind the COVID-19 protocols, as well as the safety protocols. Again, as I said, it's an individual event as such. So let's say we will keep the required distance of 6 meters and etc. The required events of when people are participating. Since the registration is done prior to the event via the app, so we know the number of potential turn-ups that are coming up for the event and prepare likewise, or restrict the number of people that can register at a particular time. And given that it's a recurring event, so that also reduces a kind of like one-time population turn-up, if I could use that phrase.
Okay, and I've got one really quick question then.
Yeah, sure.
How can you use the scale of technology and how it offers to take your idea to children all over the globe, not just Australia?
Right. So I think there are two questions over there, like scalability and technology that we are referring to. So in the sense of technology, the data that is collected through the sensors will be published via an IoT gateway onto the data cloud, which will then be, the application will then fetch the data and make it available on the app. And in terms of the scalability, the point is that since that it's conducted in particular neighborhood, let's say if it's conducted today, this weekend in a small locality of Sydney. And so it's not a parallel event, like it's at the same time, it will not be conducted at a lot of places at the same point of time. So that also enables us to operate them more effectively. So let's say in this weekend, it's in one locality, and to next weekend, it's in Melbourne in one particular locality, and then in Sydney back to another locality. So that way we are organizing it in different events. And because the volunteers are local, it will be the community that will be organizing for itself. So that makes it much more convenient for them and more, like anyone and everyone, as I said, can register as a volunteer, as long as they can make a pitch and substantiate that they have the resources to organize. So even if it's from some other locality or some other island, etc., they can organize just via the app.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And thank you, Cricket Carnival, and thank you, Sujit, for your questions. We now go to Team 5, and they'll be presenting a solution called Sports Trace. And Sports Trace turns game and practice video into ways for athletes and their coaches to train smarter. Let's see a little bit more about it.
I'm Max Montre, CEO and co-founder of Sports Trace. Sports Trace takes game and practice video of athletes and turns it into ways for those athletes and their coaches to train smarter. As a former coach and athlete, I know the drill. To fulfill your dreams of success on the field of play, you have to make sure that when the scouts are watching, you're performing at your best. And to do so, you need to stay disciplined to practice in the most effective and efficient way possible. You need to make the most of your opportunities, and there are tools that can help athletes train and help coaches scale. However, those options are very limited. They can't be used in games and practices, they're impractical and difficult, and they aren't necessarily accurate. Enter Sports Trace. We have an AI platform that allows athletes and coaches to use cell phone video to measure how their form's working, how mechanics are changing, and what progress has been made, what's good and what could be improved. Sports Trace will recognize the sport, analyze the movement, and recommend ways to improve. It's more accurate, takes less time, and it's used in both games and practicing so that comparisons are easy. Again, the idea is simple. Use your cell phone, Sports Trace does the rest. And that's cell phone video, in-stadium video, live video, or pre-recorded video. They all work. videos in everyone's pockets, we help to make that video more useful by making it easy for athletes to get insights and to get better. So what's our solution? For the HCL Techjam, we added Cricket to our app and platform. Our mobile app can manage video and, with a simple upload, deliver that video to you from any connected device. We analyze the 2D video from your cell phone to produce 3D body measurements, and we provide tools for understanding and improvement. You can see consistency through comparisons, side by side and in overlay mode. You can see consistency through automatic video annotations. And you can see how to improve through recommendations, drills, products, and information about your sport, about your technique. Our web portal is a great place for us to rapidly develop these techniques before deploying them to the mobile application. We've embedded our web widgets with partners in other sports, and we've developed auto recognition of the most important parts of any batted or bowled ball, all with the data about how your body is moving. The best part? We can use external data to augment these views. When we saw the HCL datasets from Cricket Australia, we realized that we can use them to automatically clip out batted and bowled balls from videos and show that data alongside the video analysis we do, just as we do in other sports. Our market in the player analytics and tracking space allows room to grow, with a total addressable market of $7.5 billion, half of which is video. And at just over 2% of that market penetration, SportsTrace can achieve over $100 million in revenue in just a few years. And that's because of the model for our platform. A mobile app on our platform can cater to individual athletes. We've actually approached 3 target groups: teams to help scale, training facilities and academies to help scale, and external data integrations to help to partner and to grow our business. SportsTrace is a team of former Microsoft professionals, former athletes and coaches, startup employee founders that have known one another for more than 20 years. Our experience in both sports and technology, specifically for dealing with large data sets, positions us well in this space. And the traction we've gotten so far in other sports proves this is a problem worth solving and that we're the ones that can solve it. So help us measure what matters at SportsTrace. Thanks, and I look forward to your questions.
Well, thanks a lot to the team from SportsTrace, and we've got a representative from here, and we've also got Kalen Kumar, or KK as we like to call him here at HCL, and Jared McKee to ask some questions of you. So, Kay, hand it over to you.
Yeah, hi. Pretty good innovation, and what I really liked is you had an app which was doing baseball and a few other sports, and you added cricket. My question to you is that how much of the data model which you have is predictive, which means you build on top of an image versus what you measure of the image? Because cricket is a little bit more complex sport, because unlike baseball and golf, you have a pretty much standardized way you play, or a swing, or a way you attack. In cricket, the angle of attack and the whole posture is 360. right? Because your left-handed batsman can become a right-handed batsman for a next delivery. So how does your system handle those kind of scenarios?
That's a great question. So I would say that because we've kept the measurements of the human body generic, we're able to adapt those measurements to the specifics of a sport. And because we can also implement other data sources, we can account for things that maybe we're not necessarily measuring, because I want to be perfectly clear with our solution. We're not doing bat recognition, we're not doing wicket recognition, we're not doing ball recognition or field recognition. The way that we supplement for that is by taking in other data sources. So to be able to parse out some of the measurements that we make where, perhaps a ball that's bowled inside versus outside and how that form and technique should adjust, we would actually count on outside data sources to tell us that that's happening. And then we could take the appropriate action with the measurements.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks. And Jared, your question?
Yeah, on a same theme, and look, firstly, job well done. Looks like you've got a great platform in place, and quite clearly there's a use case and a benefit here for cricket. In terms of, I'm keen to understand how your solution caters for the way that the optimal way that KK should hit and on drive versus the way that I do it based on, we're individuals, we've got our own differences of technique. How does your platform and the coaching element kind of deal with those nuances? Or does it kind of just say, actually, the optimal way to do this is this range and everyone should be kind of coached into that range?
Yeah, that's one thing. It's a great point, right? Because one thing that we've learned from other sports as well is that I'd say there are some measures of consistency that are unique to the sport and activity, but the biggest measure of consistency can be within yourself, right? That's one of the biggest predictors of, future success is if you're doing something consistently, then we can start to measure that and say, hey, you're doing this. And there can be some consistent measures against the sport. One of the biggest ones that we measure in other sports is kinematic sequence, right? So how the body moves in a whip-like motion to produce the greatest external force at, the point of contact or the point of release. There are some similarities that we found in cricket. So that would be more of like a universal consistency versus, whether or not you're holding your hands close to your body or not, depending on where the ball is, if you're batting. So it's really gonna depend, but those are the two measures that we would line you up with in terms of consistency.
Perfect, thank you. And I think since there's now a precedent on getting a second question in, I'm just keen to understand from a technology perspective, is there some consideration or a preferred placement for where the camera should be? Because I saw in a lot of it seemed to be side on. Just if you can just share a little bit about that, please.
That's a great point. We find that, where we get views that are of the body in symmetry, we get the best results, the most accurate results. That said, there's a lot that we can do with the technology visualization down the line, looking from the bowler to the wickets, and in other sports down the line. Golf's a great example, right? If we get a straight on view of a tee shot, that's great for certain mechanics. But if we get one looking straight down the line towards the pin and the fairway, we get another set of information. And one of the things that we're working on is actually lining those two views up so that we could take different measurements at the same time.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for sports, and thanks a lot, KK and Jared, for your questions. We now go to our Team 6, and they're presenting a solution called CrickX, Cricket Match Highlight Extractor. And the pitch for them is, if you're tired of waiting for hours and hours for highlights, CrickX is here to rescue you. CrickX uses state-of-the-art technology to get highlights quickly. So let's have a look at their solution.
Hello everyone, We are Team Cricket. Our project is based on cricket match highlight extractor. Our team consists of 5 members, namely Asfahan Shah, Pranjal Bhardwaj, Saksham Khandelwal, Atindra Shekhar, and Sadil Chhabra.
This is Sarthak of age 28. He is working as a highlight editor in a cricketing organization. Due to the busy lifestyle and there being various types of formats of various lengths, people can mostly consume sports in form of highlights. Due to this, Sarthak's boss constantly asks him to produce the highlights quicker.
Because of all these factors and the fact that there are many types of cricketing formats, editors like Sarthak are not able to cope up with the increasing demands. And cricketing organizations that hire editors like Sarthak are always looking for some solution that would both reduce the employee burnout and produce highlights in an efficient manner. This is where Crickix comes to rescue. Crickix uses various computer vision techniques and OCR technologies that help in extraction of relevant highlights in an automated manner. The highlights extracted from Crickix can be either used directly or it can be edited by an editor, but in a less amount of time, as Crickix filters out all the non-relevant stuff, thus saving the time of the editor. This ensures that the work is done efficiently. We have made a command line based user interface. First, we initialize our application by running the helper utility. On running the helper utility, it will ask the user for the video. After entering the video path, we will enter the number of frames of the video. After this process, we will get the captured frames in the new folder called screenshots. These screenshots are very necessary for the calibration of our computer vision algorithm. Now, after this process, we will run the main highlight utility. Now, after running the main highlight utility, we are going to enter the following parameters. First being the original video. Second being the output file or the highlights file. And the third being the sample screenshot that we are going to add for the calibration. After entering these parameters, a calibration window will appear, and we are going to select points such that the only scorecard is in focus. As you can see, we select 4 points around the scorecard so that the scorecard remains in focus. We can see the result on the top left corner. After we are satisfied with the calibration, we are going to move on. At this stage, the process of highlight extraction will begin. You can see on the left-hand corner, the score is 174 to 4 wickets. But the computer is playing the video, and you can see the change in frames. We can see that the score is changing, and soon the score will become different than it was earlier. After some time, the highlights will be extracted and a success message will appear. To view the files, we can go to the highlights folder and open the highlights file. As we can see that the original video was about 5 minutes in length, but the new video that we have extracted is only about 2 minutes of length. Hence, we can say that the highlights are successfully extracted. Here is a small demo of the output file. Although we have skipped the video in order to keep this whole video precise and small. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Crickex. And we have a representative from the team online, as well as Sebastian Lancester-Meyer and George Bailey to ask a couple of questions. And George, I'll give it to you to ask the first one.
Thanks, Team Six. I'm just struggling a little bit to understand how that's different from extracting highlights as they are currently done.
So currently, editors that we spoke in the video, like Satak, what they do is that they use the full video, and what they do is that they go through all the video, they cut out the highlights part, and then they merge all of them. In this process, this process is quite long as compared to what we have implemented. There is around 40 to 60% of time efficiency in our solution, and our solution is completely automated. So it can be used like for a small cricketing organization to all the way up to big international matches.
How quickly can you change that automation in terms of if you suddenly wanted to look at a different parameter of highlights? I think you're looking at wickets and boundaries there. How quickly can you change that?
Sorry, could you please repeat?
How quickly can you change the parameters of what you're trying to highlight?
We currently have only 3 main parameters. First being the 6, other being the 4, and other being the wicket. So all these 3 parameters are being constantly checked by the computer, and that can be other parameters like team excitation or like the commentators' words. They can be also used to see if there is a highlight part in the match.
Thank you.
And Sebastian, over to you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay. So congratulations. I think your solution is very sophisticated, and I'm a big fan of providing personalized experiences and sort of giving the fan the ability to be like the director, right? So seeing from different angles, or the length of the highlight, or following a specific player. So I'm a big fan of this type of solution. When I see the market, there are already some competitors like WSC Sports or AI Pro Kick, and I want to understand, if this is more a technical challenge, or it's a problem with rights, from broadcasters. So what is the challenge? Why it's today it's not possible to see highlights, and you have to wait for the as flagging or highlighting at the beginning. So I want to understand further what is the root cause, why even if there is technology in the market, still there's the highlights are not there as you're commenting.
I guess you said about the competition of other sports, right? Because your sound was a little blurry. I just could not understand these. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. So my point is, you have a great technology to provide highlights, and you're saying that cricket is very, very long, and sometimes it's very difficult to watch the full length of a match, and the creation of it. So what is hindering you to provide this technology to broadcasters and provide these highlights on spot right during the game? Is there any barrier there?
So the cricket has various formats. Like a match can last from a few hours to a few days. As far as the broadcasters are concerned, like they currently, what we have found is that they currently set up an editing team, and what they do is that they do that process manually. So we thought that cricket would be a way better sports than as compared to the other sports, where like in football we have a few goals, but in cricket we can see a lot of boundaries and a lot of sixes in a single match only. So we thought automated highlight would be a very good solution. And if that would be introduced to the broadcasting company, they would be also like interested in this idea, because future is all automated.
Another thing that I would like to add to my teammates' point was about the automated highlight part. Like the current companies offer the automated highlight solutions, but they are mostly excitation based. Like if a crowd is excited and they think that it is relevant. But like what you have observed in cricket, there is like a whole massive bias for like the home team crowd. So it can sometimes lead to missing of some critical highlights in case of a opposition team is like playing. So the crowd would not be like that much excited in that case. So we have not like completely used the excitation part of the crowd here as our main parameter, but we have instead focused on the scorecard, because the scorecard is not like biased in some way. So what we are trying to achieve is we're trying to combine both of these approaches to get a complete non-bias, almost like a non-bias solution that we can deploy.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Team Cricket, and thanks, Sebastian and George, for your questions. So what we'd like to do now is again shift to the second of our panel discussions, and it'll focus on the topic of tectonic shifts and driving innovation with emerging technologies. And to do this, we're joined by KK from HCL Technologies, Sujit Rana from Coles Group, Vanessa Sorensen from Microsoft, and to lead this discussion, Michael Osborne from Cricket Australia. So Michael, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic, how, particularly coming through COVID as we all have, and the impacts that's had on, an immensely physical thing, more to life in the digital age. And really looking forward to hearing the thoughts of Vanessa, KK, and Sujit on this topic. I thought we'd maybe start, and Vanessa, maybe we'll throw to you first. Well, what are your thoughts on how emerging technologies are changing the business landscape and really helping organizations drive growth coming out of this pandemic?
A great question, Michael. And gosh, hasn't there ever been a year that where emerging tech has really held centre stage? And it's certainly now. I don't know about all of you, but I love all this digital tech, but it's pretty exhausting. So I think what we're seeing is, data is the new oil. And how do we monetize this for business and for sport, similar to what we're seeing now? And how do new revenues come about? And especially with so many businesses, hit so hard through the pandemic. So, we've seen this time and time again. I mean, even working at Microsoft, we find it hard keeping up with emerging technologies. But one real quick story, actually, that I'd love you all to check out in good old Aotearoa, New Zealand, is Sir Ian Taylor's business, where his business is all around using data and AI and analytics, where they were once a traveling team, basically following golf around the world and showing, how many balls get closest to the pin. Well, as soon as we went into lockdown, that team could no longer do that. So they basically are doing the virtual eye here in New Zealand. And, you just out of the possible around how quickly the business landscape has to pivot and change the business is never been more needed, quite frankly. So, who knows what it's going to look like, but, it's incredible how we can still function and work and do things like this and have thousands of people watching. We'll never go back to how things were. And now we've got to really drive that revenue and new growth markets post-pandemic.
Great. Thanks, Vanessa. KK, over to you. What kind of emerging tech are you seeing really driving business and innovation?
So if you really, I think to what Vanessa mentioned, the way I really look at is you look at enterprise adoption and you see consumer adoption. And I really look at tech in two different pockets. And a good example today is trying to see a very interesting intersection, correct? You've got a cricket board like Cricket Australia, HCL, Microsoft, and then there's this big ecosystem. So I think the most fundamental factor which I'm seeing now, at least, is that this whole question about cloud has gone out of the window, correct? There was a lot of this question way back, especially before the pandemic. Why cloud? What cloud? How cloud? And now it's all about when cloud, correct? Or how do I just do this, correct? Or if I'm not on the cloud, I have a problem. So, and the reason I look at cloud is cloud is a business model, a technology model, and an operating model. And it really helps you then get access to a lot of innovative capabilities. A lot of, I think of the 8 startups, I don't think a single of them would have been able to build an MVP or demonstrate value had they not leveraged cloud. Correct? And the reason I say this is that emerging tech is a continuum. It's not that there's every day something is happening, correct? And the continuous emergence of tech. So hence creating a platform strategy, which is I really see is one. But if you really ask me what's the most exciting thing which I'm seeing off late, I think a few interesting areas. One is this whole area around mixed reality, correct? And this mixing up of VR and AR along with video, and that is a clear area. And some of the examples you're seeing is significantly one. Data, I look at data as infrastructure. Data is a new infrastructure. You need that to build anything on top of that. A good example is new oil, right? And that's the right context. And the 2 more things that I'm really looking forward is hyper connectivity, and because a lot of these things is latency sensitive, and I think 5G has a consumer use case, also has an edge use case, has an IoT use case. So these are the 2 big things. But obviously, you can only do this if you have cloud at the center. If you don't get cloud strategy right, then you can't accelerate quickly your digital journey.
Thanks, KK. So we've heard cloud, we've heard data, we've heard hyperconnectivity. Sujit, as representative of one of the biggest retailers in Australia, what are those techs that you guys are bringing to the market?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic, and I think KK hit the nail on the head there, where he said that emerging technologies is a continuum, and what is new and relevant now will be different in 10 years. I see that there's 2 lenses to this, and what COVID has really done, both from the consumer lens and from the organization lens, is the adoption of technology has never been easier before. Organizations that never thought they could work completely remotely, organizations that thought that they had to take 6 to 12 months to adopt technology, learned that doesn't have to be the case. If I speak specifically from a Coles perspective, you think about what COVID has done across Australia and the pandemic and the reactions from consumers, and no toilet paper in aisles and no pasta and stores just stripped bare. What it has really driven is an understanding of an adoption of digital technology, so really moving to web and app. But beyond that is a sense of immediacy. So the ability for consumers to get instant gratification across, whether it be general merch, whether it be the grocery, or whether it be something else, the ability for those experiences to happen in real time is really driving a fundamental shift in the way we treat data and the way we drive personalization. And the more that we can link those 2 together, the more that customer feels comfortable in the way that they're transacting with us. And so I think hyper-personalization, along with automation through that supply chain into the stores themselves, is going to be a key contributor to allow us to get the growth that's required into the future.
Well, Sujit, building on the hyper-personalization and the immediate gratification, both sport and cricket, as well as I think for many, the weekly trip to the supermarket, they're pretty intensely physical experiences. How are you guys using, customer experience to really try to drive innovation and bridge that gap, or augment or bring together the digital and physical worlds?
Yeah, it's super important. That omni-channel experience. We have several thousand stores across the country, and really being able to bridge that online and offline experience is key. The average Australian shopper these days is 2 parents with 1.9 kids. We found that the trend has shifted in that there is no longer a single person who tends to do the regular shop. It's now actually split across numerous people in that household. The Australian consumers are shifting away from one big shop. They tend to do a large shop, and then they tend to do several top-up shops during the week. So really being able to infuse a culture of innovation across the organisation, which is constantly looking at the differences in the way that our consumers are interacting with us as a brand, whether it be our liquor brand, whether it be our Coles Express, whether it be our supermarket, and ensuring that those experiences are seamless and connected throughout is pivotal to how we're going to solve this in the future. What we found in my experience is when innovation is stored as a separate thing or run completely separately, it tends to be outsourced, it tends to be handled by others. But if you can build it into the culture and where it's done day to day, it actually moves the dial quite significantly in a more rapid time frame.
Great, thanks for that. And maybe Vanessa, over to you. How does Microsoft think about sort of embedding innovation in the organization, to help stay ahead of the curve?
Well, it's basically in our DNA, and it should be in all of yours as well, to be honest. And I think exactly, what Sanjeet's just said. It's not a matter of if, it's actually try, fail fast, become agile, leverage cloud. And what I love about Microsoft is we drink our own champagne. In terms of our own company transformation has been about moving all of our own services to our own cloud. And I remember going up to a briefing centre visit, and it's amazing up in Redmond, and hopefully we all get to go, and just watching teams talking about our own and infrastructure moving cloud. And so, it's for us I 100% any longer just an idea that this sits anymore. This has got to be about no longer those big multi-million-dollar projects, but have a vision, try it, fail fast. And that's certainly what Microsoft does day in and day out. And we don't get it all right. And I think that's the most incredible thing of watching how far our products and services have come.
Thanks. Okay, over to you. I know you work with an organization of entrepreneurs. What's your philosophy on how to embed innovation into the organization?
So if you look at it from an HCL standpoint, we operate in three segments. We've got IT services and digitalization, which is where we work with a lot of you, and then we do engineering services. We come to Microsoft, work with an engineering partner, as an engineering customer, and then we build our own products. And for us, the big gotten very unique continuum where on faster with our customers, sometimes with things like a lot of feedback back to them in terms of customer deployment. So for our employees, it's like we really use this concept internally called learn, unlearn, and relearn. You have to learn every day continuously, unlearn a lot of things, because you don't want to do certain things that are going to fundamentally change the way you want to do things in the new model, and then keep relearning. And hence, and on top of that, with the complexity of pandemic, distributed workforce, hybrid models, it's a continuous thing. So we really started to look at creating more what I call work-life integration kind of models, where we're really telling them, find ways to pace everything across your entire 12-hour day and be able to really start to look at how you can align, operate in this new hybrid environment. So innovation is going to be consistent, and you cannot do centralized innovation. It has to be distributed out in the edge. And Mike, you talked about ideapreneurs. We believe that every employee within HCL is an entrepreneur, and about that whole mindset of bringing ideas for the customer, for the team, for the unit, or for the organization, or for the community, and then keep doing that every day. That's how we really think it's going to happen.
Great, thanks, Kay. And maybe I'll throw it back to you, because one of the tools or approaches we often use are these ideas of hackathons and tech jams as sort of a structured way to drive innovation and or engagement. Maybe as a final question for everybody, where do you see these kinds of events, tech jams, hackathons, where do you see these fitting into the innovation cycle?
Yep. So I think, so let me give you an example. So we used to start to run in HCL 10 years back, a concept called Mad Jam. Okay. And the whole MAD was Make a Difference Jam, correct? And the whole idea was, this was even before the word hackathons or a lot of these things came in. We really used this to crowdsource ideas internally, and that's how it was one of the first ideapreneur platforms we had. And what we realized is this whole ivory tower model that we will innovate with an innovation team. What we realized is that this whole shift, and I always see even my role as a CTO, I say I'm more of a cultural transformation orchestrator, correct? What I'm really doing is helping create ecosystems and platforms where we can get people to come and ideate and innovate, because everyone has a way and means to, now with the power of cloud and the crowd, I use this 2 C's, correct? So the power of cloud, which gives you hyper scale access to technology, and you bring the human and the machine concept, where you bring the power of the crowd, ideas, peoples, and you pair them with machine. Every example today I saw had an aspect of machine learning, computer vision, AI, but it had the human. It's the human and the machine combination. And then I think I see the C plus C combination, take the crowd sourcing. So I'm a big believer in this model where you can open innovation. We've got teams from in the Techjam from United States, from Europe, from India, from Australia, and they're able to just come and engage on a platform with a common data set, which we've thrown out. So this is the way to go, innovation using the power of the crowd, both internally and externally. I think that's the way forward.
Thanks, KK. And Sujit, any thoughts on the power of this kind of structured collaboration environment?
Yeah, just during the question, so you get access to problems to solve, and they've all come from different perspectives and different backgrounds, and so they're all approaching it differently. I think there's a ton of value in that. I think where I've seen it be most successful is then that there's a carry through. So once you get those great ideas, and once you get that initial burst of energy and those MVP concepts, it's how do you ensure that you can embed those actually into the organization? And I think that's when you actually start to unlock the value of those great ideas and really take it out to your customers, your consumers, or your team members.
Great. And maybe Vanessa, just finally over to you. Any advice for anybody who might be watching who wants to launch their own hackathon?
If ever there's been an example of how something incredible works, it's what we're here today doing. Why wouldn't you invite ideas from others to solve problems? I mean, it just seems so crazy, but often enough we don't. I'm really seeing that not enough people are investing the time. And back to the start of the day, and we talked about, diversity of teams. It's the eclectic coming together of different people globally that can now do it via tech, that can, solve the most incredible problems that, when we're in day-to-day and doing all those emails and all those Teams calls, we just don't spend enough time innovating. And it 100% works, from the most simple to leveraging just IoT to solve a problem, to exactly what we're seeing here for cricket. It's the norm now. And in fact, so much so that Microsoft dedicated a whole week globally. Honestly, what you see playing out, it's just so phenomenal. You have everything from people in tears, laughing, and actually then a year later see what's actually been developed and how it has changed lives. So, I want to see more. That's why, gosh, it's 9:10 here in New Zealand and I'm fully engaged.
Well, that's great. And just maybe to wrap up, I think we've heard, there's the tech's on a continuum. There's amazing capabilities now out there, whether it's the cloud or it's data, hyper connectivity. But really the art of this is leveraging the power of crowd and distributing that innovation across our organization, finding the ways to make everyone an innovator. And then following that through is where the magic really happens. So panelists, thanks for your input. It's been really insightful. Really appreciate it. And Brett, maybe back over to you for the next idea.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks to all the panelists for a really insightful discussion that we've just heard. So we're into our two final solutions presentations, and Team 7 will be coming up next, and their solution, Ludimus. And Ludimus is coaching and learning efficiency by 5 times using advanced AI algorithms, providing actionable insights from cricket videos. Here's their video presentation.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and today I'm going to share with you how Ludimus is reinventing cricket to help cricketers train like never before. Cricket at the highest levels has evolved a lot, but not at the grassroots and amateur levels. Here, coaches cannot maximize player development because they're constrained in the coaching processes due to the lack of right set of tools. With a limited history of players and relying on apps that were developed for other sports like golf, tennis, and baseball, player development becomes longer and slower. Existing video analysis platforms still require a lot of manual effort, and for most coaches, having a performance analyst is a luxury. So our solution to maximize player development is Ludimus. It is the world's first AI-assisted video analysis platform that's packed with smart scouting tools, coaching tools, and tracking tools. Ludimus also provides access to top-notch coaches across the world. It is the first tool that's been developed by cricketers and for cricketers. In addition to our AI and smart analysis tools, our platform is also enriched with drills, workouts, account management, session planning, and chat features. Ludimus is available on both web and mobile platforms for seamless connectivity. We use advanced deep learning algorithms to detect cricket-related objects on video frames like bat, ball, and stumps. In addition to that, our algorithms can also recognize key actions and context from training videos like ball tracking, batting shots, and shot classification, etc. Finally, we also provide detailed biomechanical analysis using post-estimation, which can assist in smart scouting programs, injury prevention, and player skill analysis. So how does this help the coach? Let me demonstrate that with a video. Here you see a video playing for 20 seconds. With our AI assistance, a coach can review 8 batting shots in 20 seconds, whereas without AI, he can review only 2 shots. That's 4x more data points in the same amount of time they're spending with current video analysis. Another example is to visualize a bowling kilogram for a fast bowler, where we automatically detect key bowling events like back foot contact, front foot contact, release, etc. We can expand this to brace angles, running speeds, and whatnot. So how does this help a player? So by gathering this data over a period of time, we are able to build a detailed profile of a player, tracking their progress and trends. Such a profile can simply be shared across scouts, enabling smart selection. So Ludimus is their cricketing passport. We do all this without the need for any additional hardware or sensors. All a player needs is just a smartphone. So traction, as they say, traction always trumps. We released our product in the summer of 2020, and since then, we have generated more than $40,000 worth of revenue, and we have also signed up 5 national associations into Ludimus. Our AI has already recognized more than 52,000 actions, and using Ludimus, our coaches have shared more than 7,000 feedback notes to players already. The national cricket teams of Netherlands, Denmark, Argentina, and Serbia are benefiting from our solution. We are also the official partners of Tendulkar Middlesex Global Academy, assisting with their player development as a whole. So, speaking about competition, there are a few products that offer a subset of what we offer. However, our competitive edge is in delivering actionable insights instantly at affordable pricing. So our vision is to see Ludimus be a part of every cricketer's kit bag in 10 years' time from now. We believe that executing this roadmap will take us closer to our vision. So we have raised a pre-seed investment in July this year, and within a year's time, our goal is to have more than 100,000 registered users using Ludimus. So to summarize why Cricket Australia should choose Ludimus, we help them to unearth the next superstar. We assist them in their development by providing smart tools to their coaches, which will help them to continuously track their progress over a period of time. Let me finally show how Ludimus works in action using a small video. That's it from me. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. Thank you and have a good day.
Well, thanks to the team at Ludimus, and we've got a representative from the team there, as well as KK and Vanessa, to ask some questions. So, Vanessa, I'll let you have the first crack at this one.
Oh, look, that was, again, amazing. So look, my question is, at Microsoft, we love being bold and we love driving bold outcomes through technology. And I love your bold thinking around the solution. So in the spirit of being bold, how do you think your solution could help the Australian cricket team win more matches this year and the year after?
Well, I mean, the answer is quite simple. Data has all the clues. So it's just about how do we take the data and get the right insights. So, I mean, I believe at the level of Cricket Australia, they have segmented and detailed data so much that they could deep dive into it and then figure out for patterns and trends and analysis. So I think that's where the key is. Where we could help is to try and analyze and get those trends. Because collecting data is one part, but making sense out of the collected data is the key. If you don't know what you're doing with the data, there is actually garbage in and garbage out. So that's where we can bring our cricketing knowledge and technology knowledge together in trying to analyze for trends and using that trends to improve player performance, not only for the coming year, but also for years to come.
Nice, thank you.
A pretty good presentation, and I think insightful. You have a product which is prototyped and working, and it's got live examples you talked about. What's your, I didn't see any, maybe if you can answer the question of what's your plan to integrate sensor data in terms of, like, there's a lot of technologies which are now maturing around, like back sense, and you have ball sensors, you have shoot, because video always gives you a distance view. But when you have like the first person view of putting a sensor, and can the platform accommodate bringing those data into this? And is there a roadmap you have to create an ecosystem or build your own?
Absolutely, yes. And that's obvious, because once you acquire a critical mass of users and you become prominent in the market, then we could always look into scoring integration with sensors and whatnot. Though we love data, there's also, I'm wary of this sentence of analysis with paralysis. So too much data is also wrong. And we look at what level a player is. So if you're between 8 and 12 years of age, then too much data is actually wrong. So we try to engage them with fun and interactive way of learning cricket. But the moment you think you need that level of advanced and detailed data, then we provide the ability to get that. So I think that's where our philosophy lies. So we want to bring the data-driven coaching, but not to paralyze the development with that. And with technology, everything is possible, but how we execute, how simple can we make this experience for a user, both for a coach and a player? If you think about that, coach can be easily 30 plus years of age, whereas players are between 10 and 24 years, let's say the prime players. So the generation is different. The way that they use technology is different. So one application has two sides, and you need to cater for both the sides in such a way that it doesn't add any additional manual effort or maybe even like a mental effort to understand and learn what it is. So our key focus is to really make sure that we give them the right information at the right access, so that we're not overwhelmed by it, but use it to complement and create more impact than what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Team Ludimus, and thank you, KK and Vanessa. So we've got our final team now, Team 8, and their solution is called Switch and Swift. And the pitch they've got is taking too much time to cover the field during rainfall. It will be done within a short stretch of time with this system. So let's go to the video and hear more about it.
Hello everyone, I'm Prantik Datta from the team Switch and Swift. Our team also includes Suchitran Das and Pratik Chandra Roy. The fun of playing cricket is wasted if there is a rain in the area. Lot of time is consumed in cleaning up the field and making it fit for playing. So to get rid of this problem, we have came up with the solution. We have tried to design a system that will automatically cover the field during rainfall. The material used is waterproof and completely covered. Not a single drop of water could penetrate in the field. Our system can work fully automatically without any human intervention. It can also be controlled manually just by pressing a few buttons. It is up to us which mode we want to opt for. Our project is based on the working principle of origami. We all know that origami is an old Japanese art of paper folding. So since we are using this technology, and that's the reason our project will be much compact design. The boundary, according to rules of ICC, that boundary length should be 82.29 meters in men's international matches, and in women's international matches it should be around 59.43 meter. So our system will cover an area greater than this in the field. The area marked with the red dots are the opening of underground chamber. The openings are covered with grass lid. During rainfall, this grass lid will open up and a stand will rise up from the underground chamber. At the top of the stand is mounted a unfolding and folding mechanism. And the waterproof material will unfold itself following the principle of origami, covering one square portion of the field. The same process is repeated for the remaining 3 square, and the entire field will get covered in this way. Now, the top of the cover is slightly tilted for water passage. After rainfall, the cover will again fold itself automatically following the principle of origami, go underground, and the grass lid will close itself, making the field again fit for playing. Now, the height of the stand is slightly greater than the height of the stump to avoid collision. Now, since in many cases that main decision is taken by the on-field umpire, so a communication channel can be established between the on-field umpire and the person sitting on the control room, so that the final decision made by them can be executed and action will be started according to it. Of the square, one square is 84 meter, means this will be greater than the 82.29 meter as per ICC rule. It will cover a mechanism. When the rainfall starts, the rain detecting sensor detects it, and then it sends message to the control room seeking permission to cover the field. If permission is granted, yes, then the grass lid opens up and the metal stand rises up from the underground chamber. When the metal stand reaches the desired height, the cover starts unfolding itself following the principle of origami. When the field gets completely covered with those waterproof cover. After this, when the rainfall stops, again it sends a message to the control room seeking permission to unfold the cover. If the permission is granted, the folding mechanism starts and the cover folds itself, again following the principle of origami, and the metal stud again go underground the chamber and grass lid closes, making the field again fit for playing. Now we have designed some GIF files to provide the presentation how the grass lid opens. This is the mechanism how the grass lid will open during rain, and from this hole the stand will come up for covering and uncovering the field cover. And when the rain is completed, stand will go underground through this opening, and the grass lid again will closes in this way, making the field fit for playing. This is the mechanism how our covering material will unfold itself following the principle of origami. It is the top view. Now we have designed a video, GIF, sorry, 3D GIF that will describe how that how this thing will happen. First, that metal stand will raise up in like this, and the field cover will open up in this way, covering up a single square. Now this thing will be repeated for the entire field, that is remaining 3 square. Now we have some future improvement scope. For infotainment, this system can be connected with the local weather station, that data could be sent in the control room and can be displayed on the giant screen, that when the rainfall could stop, when we could start playing, how much rainfall is occurring in that locality. These are the some of the things that we can attach with our system. Now the sponsors advertisement can also be displayed on the field cover. So this is the all about of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And a fascinating solution to a potential solution for an issue that plagues cricket has plagued cricket for a very long time. So we have a representative from the team, as well as Michael and Sujit, to ask some questions. So Sujit, I'll get you to start off.
Thanks, Brett. I guess my first question is, what's the time to deploy this actual solution? So when the rain starts on field, the ground crews, whilst very manual, are very quick in actually covering the pitch and the associated area. What's the time to actually deploy this solution?
Yes, it will not take much time. It will be around 1 or 2 minutes. It will be covered totally.
And then once it's deployed, and if it's raining, the water falls on the cover, and then the mechanism folds back into the grass. Where does the water that's on the cover go? Because doesn't that just fall on the pitch?
No. From the top view, if you look it from the top view, it will be slightly tilted for the water passage, and the water could be pumped out of the stadium. All the stadium in the stadium, the field on-field grass will not get wet.
Okay, thank you.
And Michael, over to you.
Yeah, I guess the question jumps to mind for me is, have you had a chance to sort of work through materials, and do you have any sense of what a system like this would cost?
We didn't estimate the cost because we didn't able to build the prototype. So when we will start to build the prototype, we will actually get the values, since we all know that market always go up and down. So it will vary accordingly.
Thanks.
Thank you to teammate, and thank you to Michael and Sujit for your questions. So we've completed all the presentations, and now the judging will adjourn to another virtual room to evaluate the solution, decide who will be the winner of the ACA Techjam for 2021. I'd invite the judging panel to go to the judging room in Microsoft Teams, and the details will be in an invite that should be in your calendar. Sorry. So yeah, hit the details there, and good luck in trying to evaluate and find a winner from 8 really excellent and innovative solutions. So while the judges are going through the hard work of deciding a winner, we thought we'd have a chat to someone who could potentially benefit from a couple of the solutions that have been presented today. And it's a great pleasure to have joining us now Aaron Finch, who is the white ball captain for the Australian cricket team. So Aaron, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. And first and foremost, to echo Nick Hockley's wishes at the start of the call, congratulations to you and your wife Amy on the birth of your daughter Esther last week. How's parenthood going for you both?
Yeah, thanks very much, Brett. It's been an eye opener, that's for sure. It's our first baby. You can probably hear her crying in the background at the moment. It's about dinner time. So, yeah, it's been fantastic though. My wife's been amazing. Yeah, bit of a few sleepless nights, but it's all good.
No, excellent, and I really appreciate you making the time to join us when you've obviously got a lot on. Now, we wanted to ask you a few questions, not just necessarily about your cricket on the field, but also some of the things around the game, and also you know, how you know what you liked growing up with the game of cricket. But one of the things that is, I guess, now very much commonplace due to the times is spending periods in hotel quarantine when you come in and out of Australia. So how did you spend your last period of hotel quarantine?
Yeah, just before I answer that, Brett, I'll say a big thank you and congratulations to all the participants who entered it. There's going to be some groundbreaking stuff there, and I can't wait to see it all in action, and especially being captain of the Australian cricket team. The more ideas that we can get and collaborate around is brilliant. So thank you to everyone. And hotel quarantine, it's a tough one. I think I've done 3 of them now. It's really tough at times. I think the previous one was probably my hardest because I was coming back purely to have surgery on my knee. But at the same time, it was made a little bit easier because the Olympics was on at the same time. So I was able to get in a really good routine. I'd get up and do all my rehab first thing in the morning. I'd do a sort of a fitness circuit session and then watch the Olympics all day. So that made the first 10 days go really, really nice. The last 4 days when the Olympics had finished, that felt like 10 days. But I think you just got to find ways to stay active. You can feel a bit of a trap just sitting around and actually not achieving anything. So it's important to keep focused and make sure you've got some things to keep your mind on, or to keep your mind on track.
No, I think the Olympics provided some relief, not for people like yourself who are doing quarantine, but for other people, particularly around Australia, who are in lockdown. So I think everyone appreciated at least the timing of those 2 weeks. One thing that I did want to ask is, when you were growing up in regional Victoria, was it always a dream to play cricket? Or if not, was there another profession you thought you might enter into?
Well, I grew up on a 3-acre block with 2 brothers and a younger sister. So any sport was always in the front yard. We'd roll the pitch out, had to go bumpy, and balls would go through the top. The cracks would open up as wide as your head after a while, but it was great fun. I either wanted to play cricket for Australia from a very young age, or I wanted to play AFL football for Geelong. But not being a great footballer, I wasn't bad, but I wasn't great. That was never going to be a career choice. I don't know what I would have done, honestly. I put a lot of eggs into the cricket basket, to be honest, from a young age. So I'm happy that's worked out the way it has. I love the idea of being a tradie, but I'm not sure. I still can't get on the tools very well. I try and do some handy things around the house, and Amy's still not happy with me when I start a project. So maybe something down that path.
No, I can relate. There's a reason I work in the IT industry, and that's I've got no idea how to use tools. So I can relate to that. So growing up and obviously being heavily invested in cricket, you would have obviously watched a lot as well. Who are some of your rivals growing up? Are you watching?
My first introduction to cricket, my dad took it was about 92 or 93. First win, Dean Jones. I can't remember if he the game was absolutely gone. He got over the line, and in the Victorian, he was always idle growing up. And once he sort of phased out, and it was Brad Hodge, who's obviously a great Victorian batsman, and didn't get a huge amount of opportunity for Australia. But with that, it was Mark Waugh, the mainstays of the Australian side. Mark Waugh, Ricky Ponting. But I used to love Shane Warne as well. And being a left-arm bowler, this might sound really strange. Being a left-arm bowler, I used to try and replicate Warnie's run-up when he had the big angled run up and he'd come in and bowl big leg breaks. But I would try and do it and then bowl left arm. So it just never quite worked out. Maybe that's why I've never been a decent bowler.
No, well, that sort of leads me to my next question, was whether it was always the dream to be a batsman, and by the sounds of some of the idols that you had, it was very much leaning to the batting side of the game, or whether there was a desire to take the new ball in front of the unabated at the MCG and look at the attack for Australia.
No, it was always batting for me. All through junior cricket, first Victorian representative as a wicket keeper. Victorian team, maybe 9 or 10 even, was the wicket keeper. And then gradually that got phased out and my batting improved. And then I've been a batter ever since, who bowls some really ordinary left arm orthodox spin, but managed to get 4 international wickets. So I keep reminding people I've got some very good players out, but mainly batting for me.
No, and I think you do have to remind people about those 4 international wickets as well, so they don't forget. So,
while we're on it, let me do it. Rohit Sharma, probably in the top handful of one-day players of all time, in my opinion. I've managed to get him. I think he was my second ODI wicket in Mohali, caught it deep mid-wicket. So I'm hanging my hat on that.
Well, I know, as you know, we've got a lot of people on the grand finale here from India, so I'm sure they'll be taking note of the fact that you got someone like Rohit Sharma out as part of your international wicket haul. So one of the things,
there's nothing to write home about.
So you've been very successful as an international batsman. Has there been one innings or one century that you've regarded as your best or your most favourite, and why would that be the case?
There's 2 innings that come to mind when I think that I've played really well. One of them was 100 I got at the MCG against England. We actually lost the game, which I hate more than anything. I would rather get a duck and win the game than get 100 and lose. There's no worse feeling. But from the first ball I faced, I hit it in the middle. It was a straight drive for 4. I got off to a bit of a flyer, and then everything just hit the middle of the bat. It was one of them innings where you just get on a bit of a roll, and you just get such a sense for the game, and you're in such a calm space that you almost know what's happening in slow motion. So that was probably, I suppose, technically, well, I'd say that was one of my better innings. And my other one is I got 70 against, I think it was 60 or 70 against South Africa at the SCG. Excuse me. It was a rain interrupted game. Excuse me. A rain interrupted game. We're often on, and it was quite a challenging wicket. And I thought against the attack that they had, which was Stain, Philander, Morne Morkel, I felt as though to get 70 on that wicket, I played really nicely from ball 1. I think Robin Peterson got me out, caught it deep cover, but the wicket, the situation, I felt as though that was a seriously good innings that I played.
Absolutely, and the first innings you touched on there, 100 at the MCG, and while it was a losing game, it obviously would have been pretty special as a Victorian scoring a century at the MCG.
Yeah, that was the dream growing up, is to represent Australia and do well at the MCG. It's such an iconic stadium around the world. The Boxing Day Test being so synonymous with world cricket and such a celebration over our festive period. It's a wonderful event, and any time you get to represent Australia, and I've been lucky to have some of my most amazing moments as a cricketer happen there. My ODI debut was there against Sri Lanka. Winning the World Cup in 2015, that's obviously number one. That's the highlight of my career by a mile. to manage to get a few hundreds there as well. 100 in the opening game of the World Cup against England as well at the MCG was brilliant. So it's a place that holds a lot of special memories for me, and just to be a Victorian and get to play domestic cricket at the MCG as well, and you get your locker and you just feel it's comfortable. The rooms are big. It's a great, everything's great about it. So yeah, I love it.
And so would the MCG be your favourite ground in the world, or are there others that kind of, potentially could take the #1 spot?
Oh, it's a tough question, and I've got 3 answers for this one. I think obviously the MCG, for being a Victorian, being an Australian, to be able to play cricket for Australia there. It's a ground that I go and watch AFL football at. I love everything about it. Obviously, Lords is Lords. There's not much more you can say about that. It is just an unbelievable place to not just to play cricket, but to be at. You just get a really special feeling when you walk through the gates there, and then you walk through the pavilion. It just gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling. There's something about it that it's almost like you can just feel the history, the traditions. You go into the change rooms and it's just vintage. It's amazing. So I do love that. And the other one, purely for atmosphere and noise, is Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. That I was lucky enough to play an IPL game there in 2011, and it was the first game after India had just won the World Cup. And I remember Tendulkar and Sehwag walked out to toss the coin at Wankhede Stadium a couple of weeks after that happened, and standing side by side with someone, you could not have a conversation. It was so loud. When you play against India, the crowd is just unbelievable all the time. It is just so loud. The atmosphere is amazing. So that is a ground that if you ever get an opportunity to experience, and I say this to my friends, if you're ever going to go to a game overseas, make it Wankhede Stadium, because it is just something special as well.
No, I haven't yet. I haven't yet attended a game in India, and that's probably on the bucket list for me as a cricket fan. So yeah. I'll take your advice and head over there when we actually can travel again a bit more freely.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, you've had a career that spanned all forms of the game in international level, as well as playing in different T20 leagues around the world. I mean, who's the toughest bowler you've had to face in your career, and or more than one that's probably been that rise up above the list of all the bowlers that you've played against?
Yeah, I've never got to face Murali in his prime. I got to face him right at the end of his career, and it was still incredibly difficult to pick him. Probably the most in awe of somebody I've seen, or that I've been faced, Syed Ajmal. I remember facing him in the T20 World Cup, and Glenn Maxwell smacked him for 2 overs, the first 2 overs that he bowled, and then he come back and bowled at the back end of the innings, and I couldn't pick him. I could not pick which way the ball was. He was bowling these top spinners that were bouncing 2 foot higher than you expected. He was just incredible at the pace that he bowled. Was unbelievable for a finger spin, and I've always loved playing against Dale Steyn. The competitiveness, the skill, the accuracy, the banter that you get, the friendship you get off the ground as well. It's brilliant to play against the best. So he's someone who I had a little bit of against South Africa when he played. He's also got me out a few times. So one day cricket, it's been brilliant over the time.
Now, you mentioned some great names there, and of course Dale Steyn has just recently announced his retirement from all forms of cricket. A really great bowler. You mentioned some of the players that you grew up watching, and one of the players that I grew up watching was Merv Hughes. And one of the stories about Merv Hughes was that a lot of his teammates thought he was a very, very annoying pest in the dressing room. Is there a similar player that takes over that title in the Australian dressing room right now? And why would you rate him as being the biggest pest?
The biggest pest I would say David Warner, purely just because he talks all the time and he doesn't stop. And if you need a break from him, he keeps talking. And the other one would be Marnus. He's got enough energy for everyone, and he can't sit still. So he's always up. He's grabbing bats. He's throwing balls around. He's knocking drinks over. He's just there all the time. And you turn around and he's there. You look away and he's right there in front of you again. He's just somebody who has got a heart of gold. He's a great person. Obviously, he's a great player, and he will continue to be a great player for a long time. But yeah, he can just be a pitting room.
So there was a story that went around last week that a great cricketer in Queensland, when the competition started up last week, wanted the groundsman to open up the nets at 6:25 in the morning, and the reports was that it was Marnus. Do you think that was the case?
100%. There's no doubt about that. He's someone who, if the coaches didn't have to go home as well, he would still be there the whole time. I know on tour, him and Steve Smith obviously hit a huge amount of balls, and that's a part of what makes them so good. That's a part of their routine. So when they get batting beside each other in the nets, it almost becomes a battle of who can outlast each other just to keep hitting balls. And there's no secret why them two are superior players. Not superior. They're great players. They train so hard. They train so specifically as well.
Yeah, no, they've certainly been the key players, not just in Australian cricket, but in world cricket for recent seasons. Obviously, Australia and a lot of teams around the world are preparing for the T20 World Cup that's going to start next month. How are preparations going for the Australian side, and what are you about success over in the UAE?
Yeah, the preparation is pretty individual at this stage. With guys not being able to cross a lot of borders, it's hard for us to get together and train as a group. So it's just at the moment for myself and the other coaches, it's about getting around to the players individually and talking through their roles and how we think that we see them fitting into the makeup of the side, potential scenarios that they'll come into. So it's all just really individual stuff at the moment in terms of your own preparation. Some guys are at different points. Obviously, with a few players being at IPL, Queensland started their grade cricket. Victoria, we're a little bit behind in terms of starting our season, so there's not a huge amount I'm doing at the moment. So it's coming along really well. So that there's no issues there. But so I'll start batting next week, for example. So there's just guys at a lot of different points. So it's just trying to be really individualised with our conversations and what we're trying to do leading into the World Cup.
Sounds like it's there's a lot of moving parts, but all seeming to go in the right direction, and not necessarily related to the World Cup, but having now been the Australian captain for a number of years, do you feel any extra pressure being in that role as opposed to being a member of the team and just being able to focus on your batting?
Oh, at times you do, no doubt. I think number one job though, as an opening batter for me, is to score runs or have a big impact on a game. So you can never let your focus go away from that. I think sometimes they don't always go hand in hand. I think times when I've captained my absolute best in terms of tactically and my leadership off the field, it's probably when I've been struggling on the field with the bat, because I think that you find a way to take the focus off. Find a way to take the positives of what you're doing and try and incorporate that in the rest of the squad. And I feel as though that I've managed over the years to be able to separate myself, own performance, and leadership of the team. So I think that's really important to be able to distinguish that at the time, because there is times when you have to put some extra time and effort into your own game. So then that's when your vice captain and Paddy Cummins is fantastic at that. He can take that load a little bit, leadership side of it, and make sure that sort of taking care of itself, or he's taking care of that while I'm taking care of my own game. And I think having a really consistent team, consistent core group of players over the last few years, I think that naturally happens anyway, because you're drawing on experience of a lot of different players. So it's the best job in the world, captaining the Australian cricket team, and with some of the players and personalities that we have around there, everyone gets along really well, and it just makes it a great job.
That's really really good to hear, and you certainly have done an excellent job as captain of the Australian side. Just on the T20 World Cup, who do you see are the major threats to Australia in the tournament?
Oh, I think you could throw a blanket over anyone, and South Africa, they've got so much firepower with bat and ball, and then we've got England in our group as well. The success that they've had in white ball cricket, India, to the class that India have got, and the amount of T20 cricket that they play, I think you'll advantage, especially with the IPL being right before. So guys are going to be having ideal preparation, and that's for some of the guys. Don't get me wrong, but New Zealand, you look at every World Cup, even the World Test Championship, they are there and thereabouts every single time, because they're brilliantly well by captain. It just gets to they just get to the business end all the time. They're a brilliant team. Pakistan, the firepower that they've got, the match winning ability they've got, particularly their fast bowling is as good as anyone in the world. Anyone can win it on any given day. So it just comes down to executing under pressure, and when that pressure comes on, you need your best. You need to bring your best.
No, absolutely. It's sure to be an exciting tournament, and one everyone's been waiting for, particularly as the delay happened for 12 months because of the pandemic. So just shifting gears, I mean, if you've got time just for one more question, because the judges are still deliberating on a decision. You talked about the fact that you're a Geelong fan, and obviously you would have been disappointed about last week's result, but we've got a grand final between Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs next week. So do you have a tip for those that follow the Australian rules?
Well, I think it's going to be an absolute beauty of a game. Obviously, very disappointed with Geelong bowing out the way that they did. But I think if you're through the season, Melbourne, the Bulldogs have been probably the two benchmarks of the season. I just think Melbourne, for some reason, I don't know why, because I think that the midfield of the Bulldogs is brilliant as well. But for some reason, I just think it's Melbourne's time.
Yeah, they seem to be the sentimental favourite, and they did a very good job last week. I don't particularly want to rub it in, but they did perform really well.
Yeah, they did.
Well, look, Aaron, thanks a lot for making the time to join. I really appreciate you giving some insights into both your career and also looking ahead towards the T20 World Cup. On behalf of everyone, please, all the best for you and the Australian team, and all the best for you and your wife as you enter this new phase of your life as well.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. And like I said before, thank you to everyone who participated. It's a brilliant concept, and can't wait to see it in action.
Great. Thanks a lot, Aaron Finch, and all the best. Well, it was certainly great to hear Finch and get some of the insights of, without a doubt, one of the leading players, not just in Australian cricket, but also in world cricket. So it's great. We have our judges back online again, and obviously have gone through a great deal of discussions in line the winners for the Techjam for this year. And as they come back, I'd just like to welcome them all back and say thank you to Vanessa Sorensen, George Bailey, Jared McKee, Kalen Kumar, Michael, Sebastian Lancester Meyer, and Sujit Rayner for making the time to be a part of the judging panel today. I really don't envy your job that you had today, evaluating some of these solutions. And I'd be interested in getting to know some thoughts on how it all went. So, Kate, I'll ask you, how did the deliberation the last 20 minutes or so? I think we might be in some troubles with KK, but Michael, I'll ask you, how did it all go in the judging panel? So I think there might be some challenges in terms of hearing me talk to the judges. So I have no doubt that they've gone through a lot of deliberation and gone through some of the solutions that we've heard today. Solutions that were provided some very innovative way technology, and also potentially providing some benefits for cricket, not just in Australia but around the world. I'm not sure if anyone can hear me now, but if you could wave just to let me know, that'd be excellent. So, Michael Osborne, how did the deliberations go in the room there? Must have been some interesting conversations due to the solutions that were presented today.
Can't hear me.
And now we've got trouble hearing Michael as well. So, Vanessa, I think I can hear you. How did it go in there?
Look, I mean, we are just so buzzed about the innovation and what we've heard tonight. And really, for a group of people that hadn't really met before, it's amazing actually how quietly aligned we were. And yeah, just the discussion that we've had, it hasn't been easy. And we just want to commend everybody for all their hard work. And yeah, I think they're all winners in our eyes. That's how we felt.
And George, from I guess the sports perspective in Cricket Australia, was there any surprises of the solutions that you heard, or things that impressed you greatly?
Look, all impressive, and what was great was the broadness of the ideas. I think as players, we're always looking to improve technically, learn how to coach better, how we can emulate our heroes from that point of view. But then from a community and fan engagement, as a young child, that enjoyment of having the physical trading cards, what that now looks like in a digital age, is really exciting. The community engagement of having your little miniature tournaments and games all around the streets, and having your friends watch that, I think that's fantastic. And the one that we laughed, and that's the biggest problem to solve is covering a cricket field as quick as you can when it starts raining. So all fantastic ideas, and again, backing up Vanessa, just loving the depth and broadness of the innovations that were thrown at us.
And again, to all of you, thank you very much for your participation on being on the panel today, and also sharing your experience and insights, not just with the teams as they went through those, but also during some of the discussions today. So once again, thank you all for being a judge during our grand finale. We've now come to the big moment where we announce the winners of the HCL-Cricket Techjam for 2021. And to do this, I'd now like to introduce Michael Horton, Executive President and Head of HCL in Australia and New Zealand, to do the honours. Michael, over to you.
Thank you, Brett. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone present here today across the globe. Hope you've all enjoyed this magnificent event today. It's certainly been a pleasure for me to be part of the grand finale of the HCL-CA Techjam 2021. As we come to the end of this very exciting journey of about 12 weeks, I feel extremely proud in announcing that the HCL-CA Techjam successfully engaged tech innovators and sports enthusiasts from around the world in order to develop some very groundbreaking and innovative solutions under the mentorship and the guidance of our experts and partners. I would like to extend my gratitude to all of the judges, the mentors, the advisors, and the panels, and also the players who took the time out to become part of our journey and provide us with their invaluable insights. I'd also express my appreciation to all the participants who have put in their exceptional effort the last few weeks in coming up with unique ideas and solutions in order to inspire and engage the ecosystem of cricket fans and partners. Your energy and your zeal with which you have participated with is highly commendable. So before I announce the evening and good morning for some of you, I will want you all to know that it really does not matter whether you win or lose. What really matters is that you've all believed in your idea and you've had the courage to work on it and to take it forward. I wish you all the best, and whatever the result, just focus on the priceless experience and the learning that you've received in this, and also, obviously working in some very teams, and I hope you've enjoyed that as well. So without further ado, our time that we've all been waiting for. So moving straight into announcing the results for the HCL-CA Techjam internal HCL rounds first. The runner-up team for the internal round is automatic highlight, the solution that generates highlights, reels automatically to reduce human labour, costs incurred while streaming. Please put your hand together for Rudram. Congratulations. We can't hear you. It might be on mute. Congratulations and thank you for all the work. So moving on, the winner of the HCL-CA Techjam internal HCL round is 5G Connected Stadium, an immersive iPhone application that boosts fan engagement through augmented and virtual reality. Please join me again in welcoming the winners onto the Yes, congratulations.
Thanks everyone, and it was a wonderful experience for us and the team to participate in it, where we just took the journey of a fan, how he will feel in the stadium, when he is not in the stadium, how he will experience it. It was a real wonderful journey and we learned a lot as part of this. Thanks everyone and the team here.
Congratulations again and well done.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, now we come to the external rounds of the HCL-CA Techjam. And we know that the judges have been really working hard to deliberate. It's literally only just come through in the last 2 minutes. So for second runner-up team, let's congratulate Crikey Cricket at the team of Zane Fu and Russell. So congratulations to them.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Victor, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say this Tech Jam has been amazing. I wanted to thank all the folks from HCL, Be My App, Cricket Australia, and all the sponsors. Joan from Cricket Australia was for listening to us and encouraging us on the initial idea. Lucas from Be My App for hosting these insightful webinars, and Osad and his team for being the best facilitators and organizers I've worked with, and for all these awesome cricket funds. And all the folks who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make all of this possible. Finally, I wanted to thank my wife, Noor Jihan, who supported my sleepless nights with coffee, tea, and midnight stacks. It has been an honor.
Congratulations once again. So thank you.
Thank you. He had it prepared, so I had to give it to him.
All right, so now we'll move on to the first runner-up of the event, and it is Team Ludamos. Congratulations to the team, Madame Najesh Shabani, Ludamos, Roberto Cantada, and also Liva Batski. Congratulations, team. We can't quite hear you, sorry. Might be on mute.
Right. Yeah, I was thanking you, and a huge thanks to the Techjam team. The organization was fantastic, and kudos to our Ludamos team as well for all the sleepless nights and the efforts that we put in. So really happy with it, and looking forward to work with Cricket Australia in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work to that team. Congratulations. All right. Finally, the I'm waiting for. I can totally feel the excitement in the air. So announcing today the winners of HCL Tech Jam 2021. It's the Team Cricket Carnival. So Team Shafiq Kaman, Rahman, Kadish Naved, and Kashif Kamran. Congratulations, team.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, it's very overwhelming given that everyone is such an experienced person in this team, and we are 3 students, like all in different levels of our undergraduate to graduate. So it's very surprising and very overwhelming.
Brilliant work. You must be so
Thank
proud.
You so much. I want to thank the HCL team and Cricket Australia for the opportunity and the entire help that the mentors gave us.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. So with that, we'll hand back to Brett now, and thank you very much to all those teams, and congratulations to our winners, Nike Cricket, Ludamos, and Cricket Carnival.
Thanks, Mike, and congratulations to all the winners of the Tech for 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the grand finale for the HCL Cricket Australia Tech Jam. I would like to thank all the executives, judges, and panelists who are a part of today's grand finale, as well as the finalists who presented such innovative solutions. I also want to thank Aaron Frey and Captain for joining us today, answering a few questions, and I'm sure everyone loved hearing about his experiences and also how the team is looking forward to the T20 World Cup. I also want everyone in the judging panel that played a role in various parts, in various stages leading up, pardon me, to the grand finale, as well as everyone who participated in this year's Tech Jam right around the world. It's a great experience, and I'm sure that the solutions that we've heard about today is just the tip of the iceberg around what can be done and what innovative solutions and technologies can be utilized in cricket, but also right across the world of sports. So it's a really exciting initiative to be involved. Finally, I'd like to thank the teams from HCL, Cricket Australia, and Microsoft for all the hard work of bringing this Tech Jam together. Tremendous activity, and there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. Those 3 organisations is a real exciting and fun activity. So Thank you very much, everyone who's watching, for joining us today and the proceedings. Wherever you are around the world, please stay safe and enjoy the rest of the day of your evening or your evening. Thanks very much and bye for now.